And unfortunately, it catches on his Johnson.
If he's plank of the week, he's got a sizable plank.
Yes. And apparently,
that's a whole different show.
Plank of the week, Fridays at 7 on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are, and welcome, good evening to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I am your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'll be with you for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate all the way to 10 o'clock. Get involved, get it off your chest and call me on 0344 499 1000 or WhatsApp voice note me on the same number, and I promise to play your message out. That's 0344 499 1000. It is Tuesday, July the 22nd. 26th? Done it again, haven't I? It's Tuesday, July the 22nd. Here's what's coming up. Amid reports that the asylum seekers at the Bell Hotel causing all the unrest in Epping have been moved to a plush hotel in London's posh Canary Wharf, what's it like behind the closed doors of these once convivial local inns now that they're full of undocumented foreign young men? Tonight, in a Political Asylum exclusive, I'll talk to a guy who worked at 2 asylum seeker hotels in Norfolk. His story is shocking. He says the first problem confronting new arrivals when they arrive at receptions, usually from small boats across the channel, is which phone to accept. They are offered an enticing but difficult choice between an iPhone or a Samsung. Isn't that special? Which would you choose? 0344 499 1000. Also tonight, Rod Liddle on Nigel Farage's contention that Britain is on the brink of societal collapse and his warning that wide-scale civil disobedience is imminent. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. And I'll ask Rod if, like me, he's suddenly a huge fan of women's football. Here's to the England ladies for showing the men how to grow a pair and ditching the pathetic ritual of taking the knee before every game. With all due respect to the late great armed robber George Floyd, whatever was the point of kneeling down to salute Black Lives Matter and its assembled mansion-buying crooks? And in terms of battling racism in the game, what the hell has taking the knee ever achieved? 0344 499 1000. In other news, Keir Starmer's astonishing claim that there's plenty of social housing to go round, both for British citizens and illegal migrants. What's he on about now? 0344 499 1000. And with Starmer and Lammy threatening to sanction people smuggler profiteers, you know, freeze their bank accounts and all that, Why don't they just arrest and prosecute them? You know, to smash the gangs, maybe. 03444991000. Find out all about the primary school that is teaching its little kids the wonders of masculinity by showcasing a Canadian bloke who's had surgery so that he can pretend to be a woman. That's masculinity, folks. 03444991000. And finally, I'll ask why the Labour government wastes quite so much time and effort virtue signalling over Gaza. Does dozy David Lammy, our so-called foreign secretary, really believe that Netanyahu gives a flying damn what he thinks? 03444991000. All that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Tuesday night together. And, oh my God, I've just, breaking news. Ozzy Osbourne has died. Surrounded by love at the age of 76, a statement from his family said. That has literally just come onto my board there. Very, very sad. Nice guy, old Ozzy. Just played a massive homecoming concert, didn't he, in Birmingham, which was to sort of bring down the curtain on his stellar career. And now he's died. I think he's suffered from dementia for some time. And has clearly been suffering, but what a very sad day. I'm very fond of his wife, Sharon Osbourne, lovely lady. Perhaps we can try and get hold of her, but I'm sure privacy is probably called for at this stage. Unbelievable, unbelievable. We'll try and get something together for later in the show. Here's another statement. It is with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. He was with his family and surrounded by love. We ask everyone to respect our family privacy at this time. This is from Sharon, of course, his wife, and his loving children, Jack, Kelly, Amy and Louis. What a sad moment. Well, listen, we'll try and get something together, a report on his remarkable life. Yeah, he went from wild man, didn't he? He was a wild man of rock, notorious for allegedly biting the heads off chickens during his concerts in his early days. Black Sabbath were a notorious hell-raising rock group, and he was the king of them all. Took a lot of drugs, did a lot of drinking, lived one hell of a life, cleaned himself up later in life, of course became a big reality TV star over there in America, and enjoyed a very long, I think unusual but very happy marriage with Sharon, who, as I say, is a great lady. So we'll respect their privacy, but I think we should get something together about Ozzy Osbourne, who has died at the age of 76. What a sad moment. What a sad moment. We'll get something together later on in the show. In the meantime, let's go straight over to my first guest. That's Rod Liddle, columnist at The Sun, The Sunday Times and The Spectator, and of course host of the Saturday morning show here on Times Radio, our sister station. Welcome, Rod. A few words about Ozzy?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, remarkable transformation from the kind of devil man of heavy metal, which he was in the early 70s on those first three Black Sabbath albums. I'd like to see the Pope on the end of a rope, I think, was one of the early lyrics. Finished with my woman because she wouldn't help me with my mind. It's kind of always, even when they were at the height of their fame, Black Sabbath, just as there is with most heavy metal, there's an element of cabaret about it, an element of showmanship and cabaret about it, you know? Yeah. And he was brilliant at that. And then became a national institution. You know, it's remarkable the people who become national institutions. You know, you'd think Dawn French would, but no, she's not funny or interesting.
Yeah, Ozzy was funny. He was a naturally funny guy.
He was a naturally funny guy. And it didn't matter whether he bit the head off chickens. People thought he did. That's all that really mattered.
That's all he cared about.
That's all he cared about. And he had behind him, you know, for heavy metal, which isn't the most complex of musical forms, some quite talented guys. You know, Tony Iommi was a very talented guitarist. Geezer Butler was talented. There was some talent in that band. And he was a showman. and remained a showman until, well, as we see, his dying day. It's very sad.
Very sad. And his big hit, the big Black Sabbath hit, was Paranoid. I know one lyric from it. Happiness I cannot feel, for love to me is so unreal. I don't know why I remember that, but I do.
Well, I think that's the one which begins finished with my woman because she wouldn't help me with my mind or head. I forget which.
Damn good song, though, Paranoid. Damn good song.
Yeah,
Damn good song. They did do some good songs. R.I.P. Ozzy Osbourne. You made life a little bit brighter for millions of people. Well, let's return to the schedule of the show. I wonder what your take is. Nigel Farage did this press conference yesterday, and he took a look around what's going on in Britain now, law and order collapse, the migrant crisis, just a general feeling that the streets aren't safe, and so on and so forth. And he said that if we're not careful, that Britain is facing societal collapse as lawlessness rapidly takes hold. Do you agree with him?
Yes, and in a way it doesn't really matter if I agree with him, because I think the majority of the public agree with him. And to be kind of boring for a sec, I think that societies change fundamentally every 40 years or so, and I think it's changing now. And I don't think either Labour or the Tories or the Lib Dems or the Greens get it. And I think Farage gets it very well. That all the stuff we've done over the last 40 years has taken us too far in one direction. So, we worry about poverty so we don't arrest shoplifters. We've decided that property isn't the most important thing, and that the police should instead be policing what we say to one another, and the trans stuff and the BLM stuff, and I think we've just gone so far in that direction. There is a revulsion in the public about it, and it looks to me as if Farage has got his finger absolutely on the pulse of the nation. It was a very, very, very... I think he overstated some aspects. I don't think there'll be a descent into general lawlessness, as he put it. I think, except to say that we're already in a state of lawlessness, because half of our criminals, 90% of our criminals are never caught, never pursued. And that's another problem, And I think, while it was interesting to see the way that the BBC handled this story, it was a remarkably even-handed report that they did on the Farage speech, which actually shocked me that it was quite fair. And I think there's an awful lot of people will have heard that and thought, he's absolutely right. Things can't go on as they are. And he will continue to reap the benefits of that in the polls.
Yeah, exactly. He went on to say that he predicts that civil disobedience on a vast scale is imminent. What he means is that we've been seeing these disturbances in Essex. We saw another one in Epping. That's been going on for about a week now. We saw another one in Diss last night. We're seeing a nascent disturbance going on in Canary Wharf right now, because there is a suggestion that thanks to the protests of the local people of Essex, that the asylum seekers, or some of them, have been cleared out of the Bell Hotel and now plonked into the hotel in Canary Wharf, the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf. Yeah. So they're just sort of moving the deck chairs around.
About £300 a night, I see.
Yeah, well, it won't be for them. But do you agree that we'll get lots of civil disobedience the way this is going?
I think sporadically, yes. It looks as if it's going to be a bit like last year, doesn't it? Where we did have outbreaks of violence, which was kind of originally associated a little bit with the Southport attack, but actually wasn't really about that at all. So, yeah, possibly. Resettling them in Canary Wharf? Yeah, it's better. If it was up to me.
Where would you put them?
Cambridge. I'd put them in every city which says we welcome refugees. Every council which says we welcome refugees. Right, here's 20,000 of them. Sort them out. Exactly what Ron DeSantis did in Florida when he sent all the refugees, the Cuban refugees, up to Massachusetts. make them sort it out. Because Bristol, there's another place. Send them to Bristol. You know, that's another council, another area where we love refugees. We want more of them. We want we've got some. You know, it's because these useful idiots who say all we've got to do is be kind, and who sit on the sidelines saying, "Oh, the refugees are human beings. They're human beings." Right, here they are. They're coming to live next door. You sort them out. You know, you live with it. And I think that's the best way to do it, rather than putting it in areas of the country such as Epping, where the people really don't want them and know that, you know, there has to be a finite limit to the number of people who come into this country.
There was a Labour twonk, one of these advisors, former Labour advisors, on Alex Phillips's show yesterday as a guest. And he said the most astonishing thing. So Alex said, what do you think about Nigel Farage's press conference and his announcement that there's a societal collapse and it looks as if a lot of social unrest could be imminent due to the migrant crisis policies and the asylum seeker hotels? Do you know what his answer was? He said, I think we need to look into what Nigel Farage... I'm going to look it up. But that's the way these people respond to this. When they see these disturbances that they don't like, they start to try and consign them into illegality. Like
man's a moron. But, you know, that's me and Nigel both reported to the police for incitement in the last 4 weeks.
How's that going, by the way, your case?
I've not heard from them yet, but I also haven't heard if that stupid woman has been arrested for wasting police time, which, of course, she should be.
Yeah, she should be. But in terms of these what Nigel's saying, and in terms of these increasing numbers of disturbances, I think that if the weather carries on being quite nice this summer, as I say, we saw quite a big gathering last night in Diss in Norfolk. I think every place that's got an asylum seeker hotel may be something of a powder keg, a tinderbox waiting to go off. And of course, what will then happen is Keir Starmer and the gang will start talking about far-right thugs, and these weren't really protests.
It will all be put down as the far-right, just as it was last year, despite the fact that in Epping it seemed to be a reasonable cross-section of the entire population. I don't know if Bradley Walsh was there as well.
Because he lives there, doesn't he?
He does live there, yeah. But, you know, they cannot continue to do that every time there's any trouble. They have to accept that the British people are sick to the back teeth of it, sick of paying through the nose for people who come here and offer nothing to our country, and sick of the culture clashes which change our society irrevocably, you know, as so much immigration has done, that we don't recognise our country anymore. And we are, in the words of that great scholar, Sir Keir Starmer, strangers in our own island.
Oh, no, he regrets saying that.
I don't care whether he regrets it. He said it and he meant it. And now he's lying to get himself out of trouble. Yeah,
it's the only decent speech he's made since he became Prime Minister, and he dismisses it and regrets it. Exactly. Here's one thing that worries me. If this does... nobody relishes the prospect of all these towns erupting, but if they do, like last summer, and there's a fair chance that they will, if Keir Starmer adopts the same tactics that he did last year, you know, arresting housewives hundreds of miles away for posting hurty words on Twitter, and, you know, banging up 18-year-old kids for unfolding a St George's flag near a mosque for 3 years, that kind of thing. If he comes down on these protesters in the same way, the same tyrannical way he did last year, I think the people of this country might not like it.
Well, what he will first do is exactly as you said before, which is try to define any protest as being the far right. That's the first thing you do, and try to convince the population that there isn't really any disquiet about all this. Obviously, it's a problem we've got to sort out, but no one's really worried about it. It's just the far right, and so it would be hugely helpful if, when these protests take place, they take place a little bit like one of the ones at Epping was, where people behave themselves and simply express their, annoyance that the Bell Hotel was full of asylum seekers. And, the response from local politicians to say, well, I don't think the Bell Hotel should be holding asylum seekers anymore. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to put them in the wheat sheaf in Waltham Abbey or something. They are so narrow and constrained in how they try to come to grips with a problem which is way, way bigger than, just Epping. It's a problem which is afflicting the entire country, and it's been going on for too long, and the public don't like it. It needs the kind of imaginative thrust that Nigel Farage brought to the argument, no question at all.
Yeah, he actually struck a chord with the British people, there's no doubt about it.
Right.
And he's the only politician who is talking to the people right now. The rest of them, I mean, the same old mob started coming down after the initial disturbances in Epping last weekend, saying far-right thugs, far-right thugs. Do you remember Keir Starmer last summer? He looked at all these protests all around the country and said, they're not protests. They're not protests, they're just far-right thugs. So far-right thugs just sort of gather organically and then sort of explode in kind of irrational rage, do they? Of course they're protests. You might not like the form of the protest, but just saying these are not protests, this is just far-right thugs, that is a sort of self-deception that doesn't get the Prime Minister or this country anywhere at all, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, there is a problem, though, that these protests do get hijacked.
Oh, yeah.
By
both sides of the fence, by the way. And Antifa, both sides of the fence, far-right thugs and far-left thugs.
Antifa are just morons. I mean, they're just utter morons. And I don't think that theirs is... I don't think they matter very much. What I say, it just shows to the ordinary protesters that there are people in this country who really are useful idiots. But it's far more damaging to find out, that the EDL have been down and have been organising protests. Don't give this government any ammunition.
Yeah.
That's the crucial thing.
Exactly right. Well, listen, let's go to break now. When we come back, let's talk football. Let's talk women's football. Can't wait. That next. Stay tuned.
What they're doing is, by salami slicing, doing it by statutory instruments which have virtually no ability to be able to be checked in the way in which legislation can be done on the floor of the House of Commons. And yesterday they passed another act called the Production and, believe it or not Metrology Bill, which is now enacted, and that is realigning us with all European laws in that field of activity. It is monstrous.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Rod Little. Rod Livell? Where did I get this from? God, I can't talk properly tonight. Right, Rod Liddle. Let's talk about women's football. Whatever you think of women's football, and that penalty shootout last night took some beating. Last week, took some beating. They're playing Italy tonight in the semi-final. But here's to them. Here's to the English ladies, the England ladies, for kicking into touch that ludicrous waste of time and space that is taking the knee. Let's have a quick listen to the manager of the England team, Sarina Wiegman, explaining why.
It's also a conversation, taking the knee. So that's not enough, and we've done that for a while. And the impact. So it seems that the impact is not good enough. It's not as big as we think. And when this kind of form of this race, and we felt that we had to do something else, or something different. So that's why we're not taking the knee.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rod, I go to football a lot, and the emptiness of that ridiculous ritual before every game knows no bounds. If anything, the fans jeer a bit and go, "Get up!" They completely ignore it, turn around and talk to each other, have nothing but contempt for it, and yet on it goes, on it goes, on it goes. And as the ladies and Sarina Wiegman have quite rightly pointed out, what the hell has it ever achieved? What has it done to tackle racism in the game? It started because we were supposed to pay homage to Black Lives Matter and all their mansion-buying executives while we paid tribute to a convicted bank robber and so on and so forth. And we're still doing it. What is it now? 3-4 years on in the men's game. 5 years, is it? Well, good for the women for striking a blow for common sense. It's a waste of time, isn't it?
It is odious, demeaning, performative and virtue signalling. It does nothing to help racism apart from perhaps make people feel resentful. You talk about seeing it at the games you go to. Luckily, my lot never did it. Millwall wouldn't do it. Nor, incidentally, would Middlesbrough, which is...
Those are your two teams, right?
Well, Millwall are my team, but I'm from Middlesbrough, right. Partly, and I know that they wouldn't do it either, because they thought it was... Don't forget, you're going back to a time when Alan Shearer and Lineker were on Match of the Day having to wear badges with BLM on. That's how mad it was. This repulsive Marxist organisation which wants to abolish the family, abolish capitalism, and believes that white people are necessarily racist, whether they think they are or not. Absolutely odious organisation, an odious idea, and one which the FA, to its enormous shame and discredit, has stuck with for far too long. So on that issue, well done to the women.
Absolutely.
On the issue, learn how to trap a ball, will you? But there we go. So,
learn how to take a penalty.
And how to take a penalty.
You see, my favourite was the goalkeeper. There was the Swedish goalkeeper who put it about 47 feet over the bar.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
But in fairness to the ladies, to the Lionesses, the reason they've done this is there's a defender, Jess Carter, a good player of colour, who has suffered the most appalling racist abuse throughout this tournament and, in fact, throughout her career. And the women sat around and said, well, we're doing this before every game, and look at poor old Jess, look at what she's having to suffer, endure every single day. This ritual that Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner enjoy as well, of going down on one knee to say, really sorry about that bank robber, fentanyl addicts. It's been a very, very strange 5 years. What, do you think that the men will take a leaf out of the women's book and maybe get rid of this nonsense?
I would hope so. I suspect the Lionesses will be in for a bit of stick, because there were already complaints from morons that the Lionesses were not didn't really reflect the multicultural, diverse nature of England in the same way that, for example, the men's team do, and that's because there aren't many black female players in the first 11, whereas of course there's at least 50-60% in the men's game. These are people who see everything through the prism of race. I mean, they're obsessive and mad. So it wouldn't surprise me if both the Dutch manager, the excellent woman, by the way, and the team get told that they're being racist. That wouldn't surprise me. I'd like to know what discussions are going on at the Football Association now as well, as to whether they're saying, well, you know, you can do what you like, but we'd rather you continue to take the knee. I don't know. I don't know where the FA stands on this anymore. It is such a nebulous organisation full of half-wits that it is difficult to know. It really is.
And in fairness, Rod, since they started taking the knee 5 years ago, there's been a massive influx of managers of colour. You know, all the top teams are now managed by, you know, people of colour, but black guys, aren't there? Oh no, wait a minute, there aren't any managers of colour.
No, quite.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all repulsive virtue signalling rubbish. And I remember when The Guardian, you know, did a piece, this is ages ago now, having a go at my club, Millwall, which is a racist club. You're a racist club. Well, you know, I stood on the terraces at Millwall with black people in the 1970s, you know, and there were black players on the pitch. And this is when editorial meetings at The Guardian were whiter than a Ku Klux Klan dinner party, you know. They still are, I reckon.
They still are. They still are. You know, the working class tend to get on with each other. You know, no matter what the colour is.
You're right. You're right.
It's the middle class that
or the middle class, as you classify them in your Spectator piece.
Right.
Couldn't agree with you more. I, by the way, am from the lower middle classes, so
me too.
I'm not even worth talking about. Or perhaps neither of us are.
Oh no, we weren't worth talking about. Marx thought just didn't matter, but we are the class that gave you Mussolini and Hitler. You know.
There you go. You see, we've contributed. We've done our bit.
We've done our thing.
Listen, Rod, always a pleasure to talk to you, mate. Look forward to talking to you again next week. That's the great Rod Little, columnist for the Sunday Times, the Sun, of course, and the Spectator. You can read all his pieces in the days of the rest of the week, so have a look at them. Really, really worth it. I can't recommend them enough. And also, he is the presenter of Times Radio Saturday morning show from 10 until 1, I do believe. Have a listen to that, and that's pretty good too. Right, when we come back, we're going to be talking about two-tier Kia's astonishing claim to the liaison committee in the House of Commons in Parliament that there is plenty of spare housing to go round for both illegal migrants and homeless Brits. So we'll talk about that next. 0344 499 1000. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, as we started the show, it was a bit of a shocker. It suddenly popped up on my screen that the great Ozzy Osbourne, frontman of Black Sabbath, notorious hell-raising wild man of rock, married to Sharon, switched to a very successful reality TV career over in the States. He has sadly died aged 76. I believe he'd suffered from dementia from some time. And his family are in mourning today. Now, we're going to have a proper assessment of his remarkable career at 8:30 when I'll be joined by the great Paul Gambaccini. So I'll look forward to that. 8:30, a proper appreciation and tribute to Ozzy Osbourne, who has died aged 76. So that a bit later. Before we get to any of that, let's switch over to my next guest. He is a former Tory government advisor, James Price. Welcome, James.
From one hellraiser bad boy to another, right?
Yeah, okay. If you like, James. Right, so we'll be a hellraiser as you answer these questions. Let's have a little look at Tootir Keir. He was in front of the liaison committee today, and extraordinarily, he claimed that there is plenty of spare housing, both for illegal migrants and homeless Brits. Let's have a look.
Just a pinpoint before. What other accommodation precisely are you planning to take over to provide temporary accommodation for families?
Oh, there's lots of housing in many local authorities that can be used, and we're identifying where it can be used. But I mean, look.
Sorry, could you give us? Have you got any examples you can give us?
No, but I'll write in and give you details.
Because I could say certainly in a number of our local authorities, I'm already picking up from around the table, there isn't a lot of spare housing available. If there were, councils would be able to be dealing with it by now.
Well, exactly.
That's Meg Hillier, a Labour MP, giving the Prime Minister one hell of a hard time. What do you think he's talking about? I mean, he seems to be saying that all we have to do is get all these migrants out of the asylum seeker hotels. They're sprayed, 202 of them around the country, about 30,000 we think in these various hotels. So he seems to say there's plenty of housing for them. And also for Britain's homeless people, and presumably people who've been waiting on the social housing queue for a fair few years. So we don't actually have a problem in how to accommodate these people. In fact, we don't have a housing problem. There is plenty of housing, says the Prime Minister. Any idea what he's talking about?
Where even to begin with this? From a man whose last year has been ignominious in the extreme, he's managed to hit a new low. And I think you could hear when he said that, the sound of many Labour advisors huddled up inside number 10, slamming their heads down on their desks as he said it. Absolutely extraordinary. The only way, Kev, that he might be right is because the exodus of people sadly fleeing Britain for places, better constitutional arrangements and more peace and justice, maybe somewhere like Syria at this rate, right? That's the only way there could be a lot of empty homes if people keep fleeing away. No, there aren't lots and lots of empty homes like this around, but people, it's fine, we'll just use the taxpayers' money to buy houses above the market rate and price people out of it and give those homes to the asylum seekers. It is completely bonkers. The thing that's starting to scare me is we're seeing from the scenes in Epping recently. The horrible thing allegedly happened there, and local people rightly have had enough of this hotel full of fighting age men who've come over here illegally and are being housed on the taxpayer dime, right? And all the kind of problems we've seen happen and the rest of it. It's sounding like the people may have been moved out of that hotel in Epping, and there's a rumour they've been moved into somewhere else where they're already...
I can tell you where it is. It's right? The Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf. We have sent an ace reporter down there, Phil Dave. And the coppers standing outside, there it is. The coppers standing outside have confirmed to our man Phil Dave that indeed this is now a migrants' hotel, a asylum seeker hotel. And we haven't got absolute confirmation of this, but it does seem as if at least some of the asylum seekers in the Bell Hotel in Epping have been moved to this rather flash hotel in a very posh area. So already a protest building up there. You can't just move the deck chairs around the deck of the Titanic and expect people not to notice, can you, James?
No, absolutely right. This sort of fatuous thinking of going, the locals of Epping will be happy now because they've got use of the hotel back, right? As if the hotel bit is the real problem. No, the problem is that we've got tens of thousands of fighting age men who keep pouring across the English Channel day after day after day. We've now got, and I did the calculations on this and told you about this before, Kev. We've had twice as many people since 2018 come over on small boats than we have regular members of the British Army. British Army regular forces, only something like 72,000 people, and we've had about 160,000 people cross over on small boats since 2018. Amongst them will be members of ISIS, members of Al-Qaeda, the lowest of the low, the scummiest of the scummiest, and we've seen alleged examples of their crimes and misbehaviours, and people are fed up of that. It's not the idea that, oh no, we can't go and enjoy the local hotel. And by the way, this hotel they moved into in Canary Wharf, I had a quick look, lovely swimming pool that the migrants will be able to enjoy there. Enough is enough. We've got to have a permanent solution to this problem. Rwanda would have been one example, a proper permanent deterrent to keep people away, but it's only now a matter of time before some other recent arrival does some other unspeakable act, and then you've got a protest there, and then you'll have copycat protests all over the place. And can you blame people for not wanting to have this when they've seen how weak this government has been on law and order and how they just feel unsafe for their wives and their children, their husbands, their brothers, their sisters, their mums, their dads, whoever it may be? You cannot import the third world and not expect to have the third world rock up on your doorstep. And they're not going to become magically, wonderfully cultivated people overnight.
And in terms of the Prime Minister's contention that there's plenty of housing, plenty of social housing all over the country, both for migrants and legitimate British citizens, I wonder what the 1.3 million British citizens waiting on the list for social housing would think about that. 1.3 million people are waiting to get council houses, social housing, and many of them have been waiting for a good many years. And the Prime Minister just rocks up and says, no, we've got plenty of housing. I wonder what people who have been on that list for, say, 5 years think about that, particularly the people who've been on the list for 5 years to see Afghani migrants who have been secretly airlifted into this country leapfrogging to the top of the queue. I wonder what they all think.
Yeah, well, absolutely right. It's two-tier housing to go along with two-tier policing and two-tier justice and two-tier healthcare. I think the asylum seekers get two-tier dental work as well that we don't get. I think that's another thing we've seen that they all get. When is this going to end? When are people going to wake up and realise that this stuff has to stop? Well, in fact, actually, the people have started to wake up and realise this. The politicians haven't, and they think they can get away with it. And what we are brewing up, unfortunately, is the seeds of major and unending discontent. Now, even someone like John Locke, the great English philosopher who talked about the idea that legitimacy inside government comes from the consent of the governed, aka moving towards things like elections, said that when a state stops being legitimate, then you have every right for a revolution. And if mild-mannered philosopher John Locke was saying it 400 years ago, imagine what the mums of Epping and around the place, around the rest of the country are going to think when they start seeing these people attack their kids, has been alleged, and all these other horrible assaults that have been alleged. Some of these people, I'm sure, are perfectly lovely, but the fact is that the very first act they've done coming into Britain is to break the law by entering here illegally from France, a perfectly safe country. And they've got no interest in becoming nice cultivated Brits wearing tweed jackets and queuing and all that sort of stuff. They want to come here because they know we're a soft touch and we give them benefits straight out of your pocket, my pocket, and the pockets of everybody who's listening and watching here this evening.
Let's go back to, quite right, James, couldn't agree with you more. This is what Starmer told the committee, if I can quote him again. Oh, there is lots of housing and many local authorities that can be used. We've identified where it can be used. So Meg, the committee chairman, pressed him on this. So bearing in mind, she's Labour. You know, she's constitutionally sort of not inclined to humiliate the Prime Minister, but she sure as hell did. She said, well, where is all this spare accommodation? And he said, well, I don't have I'll have to get back to you with that. And then she said, because the reason I ask is that a lot of us, our local areas, we find that councils are under great pressure because they don't have any spare social housing. And Keir Starmer went, well, exactly.
It's just extraordinary, isn't it? That's his comeback on this.
Doesn't even make any sense. Where's the continuity there?
No, well, are we surprised about this? This is a man, again, who says he doesn't dream, who doesn't have a favourite book, has got no imagination whatsoever, is only kind of robot programmed to respond in the most bland and banal way possible, right? And the bit that really gets me about this is when you mentioned people waiting for social housing. What about the millions of younger people who are unable to get on the property ladder because houses haven't been built, because politicians haven't made the case for how important house building is? That might not be so popular for me to say, but it is true, and we've seen a massive divorcing of incomes and house prices over the last 35 years. And I would say, and having done a lot of the analysis at the Adam Smith Institute, that the biggest thing that's holding back growth is that kind of housing crisis. So the fact, again, not only have you got the people on social housing who will need it, not only have you got people who would want to get right to buy going on as well, not only have you got then millions and millions of young people now who can't get on that property ladder, or older people who want to downsize and get into a house that's better for them, they can't because the stamp duty is so high. All these kinds of problems we've got with an Englishman's home is supposed to be his castle. But then, to rub insult on injury, you're going to take all that taxpayers' money, buy some of these extra houses because you pretended that there are some available, and give them to people who've broken the rules and come here 5 minutes ago. It's that burning injustice that British people feel so keenly. And Starmer doesn't seem to get it at all. It's gone in one ear and out the other, as we saw from that clip. He doesn't understand what a massive hypocrite he's become, and the government that he is leading is taking us to rack and ruin on this topic, as they are on everything else.
I'll tell you what's very important to British people. It runs deep in their soul, in their DNA, is a sense of fairness. And what's going on here is not fair. Foreigners are being prioritised over British citizens. These Afghanis leapfrogging to the top of housing queues. These asylum seekers basically given free life, for 70 quid a week, free food, free doctors, free dentists, free lawyers, all of these things that we have to pay for. I'm going to talk to someone who's worked in these hotels in just a little while, but a little bit of a spoiler alert. He's worked in 2 of these hotels in Norfolk. He says the first thing that happens with the migrants when they turn up, the asylum seekers, is, it's a bit of a dilemma for them. They just don't know which one to choose. They're offered a choice of 2 phones. Would you like an iPhone or would you like a Samsung? That's the first problem they have when they arrived at these hotels. Which phone to choose? Which free phone to choose? British people find out about this. They're knowing about. They are finding out about this. It goes against the grain for us. It's not fair. And if Keir Starmer carries on presiding over a system that is palpably unfair, he's going to be in big trouble. This country's going to be in big trouble.
Yeah, we're already in big trouble, aren't we? And that's a great example you've raised there, Kev. It's making my blood boil, and what it must be doing for people on the drive home. Don't crash in anger at that kind of story, because it's just
extraordinary, isn't it? It's extraordinary.
There's one insight into this that might be useful for people as a take home, that in the kind of academic literature on this, as to when you talk about fairness, and everybody I think agrees a very British thing is a sense of fairness and fair play. There's a difference between people of a kind of right-wing brain and people of a left-wing brain. When you stick them in an MRI or a CT and scan them, and you get different takes on that word fairness. That people on the left think that it means equality, everybody getting the same thing. If you've got an iPhone and I've got an iPhone, then this chap who's just coming off a dinghy should be allowed to have an iPhone as well, and that's only fair, right? But people on the right think that the word fairness means something like proportionality, that you get out of something what you put into it. And if you work harder than the person next to you, then you should get to keep more of that. And that is what I think most Brits deep down really think. But Keir Starmer, being a commie, as frankly he is, doesn't understand that, and therefore is perfectly happy to take money away from everybody here who's listening to this programme and to give it, as you say, to a Samsung or an iPhone to some recent arrival. And that is, I think, at the heart of the unfairness that so many millions of us feel field.
Absolutely. What we actually think is, you know what, iPhone or Samsung, I'm not having to make that choice, but unlike these asylum seekers, I'm going to have to pay for it myself with my own money. They're going to get it for free. That isn't fair, and that is a recipe for disaster. When we come back, James, we're going to talk about the migrant crisis and specifically the new punishment that Smash the Gang Starmer has come up with for people smugglers. You're going to like this one. Stay tuned.
He was asked about, hope you all have a good summer holiday, and he didn't really want to sort of commit himself to actually being able to go away, because he didn't actually go away on holiday last year. I think he was due to go away. We had the general election and the first 100 days of that Labour government that he had to preside over. And I think at some point he was going to try and get away, but because of the Southport riots and what happened, he didn't actually. So I think he just didn't want to tempt fate in that respect.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with former Tory government advisor James Price. Well, James, while our asylum seeker friends settle into their new 4-star luxury hotel, the Britannia in Canary Wharf, swimming pool, games room, bars, restaurants. We'll bring you some pictures of that later on, folks. Very nice. Really good deal for them as well. They don't have to pay for it. We pay for it. They're in there for free. Good, isn't it? Let's talk
also
about...
the fact, by the way, it's called the Britannia, right? Just really rubbing our noses in it.
Yeah, it is a chain. I think they've done a deal with the government. But listen, let's talk about people smugglers. This is the latest bid to smash the gangs. This is announced by David Lammy with the backing, of course, of Keir Starmer. Gang leaders, corrupt officials, bent cops, fake passport dealers and small boat suppliers will be targeted for public naming and shaming and financial sanctions. Tomorrow morning, apparently, Wednesday, 24 alleged migrant crisis villains will be unmasked and have their assets attacked. So, if we know who these people are, why aren't we just sanctioning them, sort of closing their bank accounts? Why don't we just arrest them and put them in prison? Something like that. Wouldn't that sort of amount to smashing the gangs a little bit more effectively than saying, right, we're going to switch off your bank account? Because trust me, these people are going to have more than one bank account.
I honestly thought this was a parody story when I first read it, right? This idea that these scumbags who are scurrying around the kind of the beaches outside Calais are going to be like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to Monzo over some money anymore. Or my Amex might have some of its points taken away from it. It's just absolutely ludicrous. As you say, if you know who these people are, the moderate option is to go and arrest them and throw them in a dark pit somewhere, I think is perfectly sensible, given what they're doing is is invading our country, is just to set the SAS after them and shoot these people. I really think that we're at the point now where the national crisis is so bad that we need to be doing things like this. And Dominic Cummings has said that it would be trivially easy to stop these gangs and their business models. It is just a couple of dinghies after all. And we do have the whole of the English Channel that successfully kept Philip II out, it successfully kept Napoleon out, successfully kept Hitler out, and so on and so on and so on for a very long time. And we do still have 2 bloody great aircraft carriers and a navy and an air force and all the rest of it. The idea that it's sort of technical reasons we can't do it, or that silly ideas like this of sanctioning criminals and being named and shamed is going to stop any of them is for the birds. Until and unless Starmer, of course he won't do it, but until and unless Starmer or anyone else in the government changes the fundamental rules that the lawyers have put in place that mean that the smugglers and the people who they're bringing over have a right to a family life under the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights, we will never get any of this done. And if a prime minister under the current legal system does, again, as Dominic Cummings, who knows this because he's asked the people in the deep state when he was in power, if a prime minister did say, right, go and use whatever force you need to smash these people up, the cabinet secretary would theoretically try and have the prime minister arrested. What kind of democracy are we living in again?
Oh, God, no kind of democracy. The deputy chair of the Migration Advisory Committee, Dr. Madeleine Sumption, said she would be surprised if these sanctions were a game changer for the industry as a whole and for the existence of the small boats route generally. In other words, they'll have no effect at all. But just to go back to, what I said at the outset, let's just recap, because I just think it's astonishing. So tomorrow, apparently, the government is going to name and shame 24 people who have been profiteering from people smuggling. As I said, gang leaders, corrupt officials, bent cops, fake passport dealers, and small boat suppliers. These are all people who've been making money from the people smuggling racket. And they're going to name them, shame them, and then impose financial sanctions. So is that the new crime-busting method of this government? So if you go and rob a bank, Keir Starmer will turn out and say, well, once you put that money in an account, we'll freeze that account and you won't be able to get to it, will you? I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, why don't they just arrest them?
I feel like I've been day drinking hearing this stuff, right? Or maybe I just wish I had.
Let's have a drink, for God's sake.
I'm going to need to. That instead of going and arresting these people, as you say, we're going to go to the dinghy shops of northern France and say, "Oi, mate, you haven't been selling that dinghy to any nefarious sanctioned individual, have you? Oh, no, mon ami, it's just for the little people who want to go on the beach and play." Right? Can we not get serious about this? As you say, Kev, you know who these people are, you arrest them. If you don't know who they are, you just go, as various reporters have done, along to the beaches, you'll find them and take a Stanley knife with you, slash up the dinghy, and then you can arrest them. This stuff is not difficult to do. And it is, I'm afraid, a wider symptom of the illness at the heart of our state of our democracy, that we cannot even do simple things like this. How are we supposed to get to grips with our sovereign debt crisis? How are we supposed to get to grips with the Russians or the Chinese? How are we supposed to get to grips with a healthcare service that has been run very terribly, probably since about 1948? How are we going to do all of these actually difficult things? How are we going to deal with artificial intelligence and the kind of big epoch changes that that's going to cause if we can't even stop a couple of two-bit thugs in dinghies, and all we go around doing is saying, oh, actually, we'll sanction their ability to buy the boats? Insanity.
Yeah, by the way, James, these people are pretty... I mean, we don't know much about who the hell these people smugglers are or their operation, but they're pretty sophisticated. I think Starmer thinks they're like this sort of mafia or something. They're all hanging out in some kind of clubhouse playing pool, talking about kind of hitting people and that kind of stuff. We don't even know what these gangs actually constitute, what they're made up of. But I'll tell you this, they're sophisticated people, and their money moves internationally. Closing down their account at Lloyd's, that's not really going to hit them hard. It's pathetic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And again, the bit that's most infuriating about this is, to your point, what you asked the question, why don't we just arrest them? That is the solution to so many of our problems, that Britain could be and should be a paradise to live in. And all you've got to do is lock up all the wrong-uns, all the scumbags, all the criminals, whether it's the people coming over in small boats, or it's the yobbo in the balaclava who nicks your phone out of your hand, or it's the person who goes and beats you up in the middle of the night, or any of these people. We just lock up these people and frankly throw away the key at this point for a good long time. You just watch and see Britain repair itself. That's
a bit of law and order. I think Nigel Farage made a lot of sense yesterday and struck a chord with the people. James, great to talk to you as always. James Price there. Back in a moment.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. It's the one show where you do not have to be worried about judgmental people because we'll do all the judging for you. Let's just have a look at how Humsley Useless is now spending his time.
There goes your career, mate.
Over there a bit is over towards where all the migrants come in. He's jumping there. There he goes. He goes over the bar.
Hello,
and
lady.
unfortunately, oh, look, it catches on his Johnson.
If he's plank of the week, he's got a sizable plank.
And apparently,
That's a whole different show.
Plank of the Week, Fridays at 7 on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, the big story of the night on the migrant crisis front, on the asylum seeker hotel front, is that there are reports that the migrants, the asylum seekers staying at the Bell Hotel in Epping, have been moved to the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf, just down the road from Talk Towers. There's a bit of a demonstration building up outside the Britannia Hotel. Very nice 4-star hotel, restaurants, bars, swimming pool, very plush hotel. So they'll enjoy staying there for free, won't they? So that is the big story of the night. Last night there was a gathering crowd protesting in Diss, a town in Norfolk, and also, of course, for a week or so now, there have been protests in Epping, where the Bell Hotel is. So, so we keep talking about asylum seeker hotels, migrant hotels. You know, they stick them in the middle of a small community, they cause problems, clearly. Sometimes the asylum seekers commit crimes, sometimes they commit sex crimes, alleged sex crimes. And that causes the local community to rise up and protest. It causes the local community to rise up in fury, actually. So we always talk about, oh, we've got asylum seeker hotel, migrants. But what are these places really like? Right now you cannot see into the Bell Hotel. You haven't in Epping, you haven't been able to for months. They like to keep these places secret. So what does go on behind the closed doors of these establishments. Well, let's talk to somebody who knows. We're going to talk now to a guy called Luke Sharman, and for 2021 until 2023, so for a couple of years, we're not going to name the hotels, but they are Norfolk-based hotels. He worked in 2 of them. So thanks for joining us, Luke.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Now, tell us about what it was like. You were, as I understand it, you were like a night porter, maintenance man, but you spent a lot of time standing in during the days because of staff shortages?
Yeah, as with a lot of the hotels, they go through staff. A lot of staff come, they get treated disrespected, you know, obviously by the residents. They leave very quickly. Spending there nights and days, I got to see everything that went on. Obviously, you get to hear everything that goes on, and the stories that people don't realise is everyone thinks that these places are filled with people that are seeking safety. They're not. That's just not how it is. The majority of them are just they're not nice people. It's, you know, it's, some people say it's not a fair thing to say, but it is. It's the truth, and that's what people need to know.
So did they, were they aggressive towards the staff? When you say they're not nice people, what do you actually mean?
Yeah, so on one occasion, there was a time where the food that was on offer, one of the residents didn't like it, and they actually assaulted a member of security just because they didn't like the food that was on offer. Because
they didn't like the free food?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
And... I mean, can they speak English?
Some of them can speak very little English. The majority of them speak no English, so trying to speak to them and trying to reason with them is just impossible. It makes it very difficult. You know, how can these people integrate with us if they can't speak our language? It's just never going to happen.
And so is it behind these closed doors that we never get to see, that you used to work in, is there a lot of tension between the asylum seekers and the staff?
Yeah, there is. A lot of staff, they felt, you know, when they're at work, they felt on edge. They felt as if they, I don't know, you know, a place of work should be like a second home in a sort of sense, and they weren't. They'd go to work and they'd be constantly looking around them. They'd be constantly listening to what people are saying, because unfortunately, you don't know what these people are capable of.
And what do they get up to? I mean, we know that they're not allowed to work, so we always read stories and we hear stories of them just milling around all day, causing potentially trouble. But what you know, as someone who worked behind the closed doors, what do they get up to most of the time?
I'll be totally honest, the majority of them, they do just sit there watching the free TVs, eating the free food on their free phones. But unfortunately, there is a large majority as well that they'd go out and they work for companies such as Just Eat and Deliveroo. All the bikes and stuff are stored around the back. So, you know, they're not supposed to be here working. They've got no paperwork. They've got no identity, no photo ID, nothing. So what people can't get their head round is how are they getting these jobs in the first place. So, yeah, you witnessed this there, because this story, of course, has flared up in the last couple of weeks, because the Sun did a bit of investigation. But you saw that when you were working at these places, the Deliveroo bikes all around the back, yeah? Yeah, there was a couple of lads, they were working cash in hand at I believe it was a pizza and kebab shop just down the road from the hotel I was at. They'd go out each night, they'd come back 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, being night porter, I was the one to let them in. Yeah. So, yeah, it was a regular thing. And, I mean, how did you personally get on with most of the migrants? I'll be honest, the majority of them you could get on with. You could be, you know, as to say, civil with them, and sometimes you could have a laugh with them. But if there was a problem to arise, you'll find that all of them sort of turn as one. Mm-hmm. So if you've got one person, you know, they'll go into what's called a common room, which is where they all sit, and then obviously they'll all discuss it, and then within 10, 15 minutes, you've got loads of them all shouting at you, and yeah. Right, and I was just telling this story before you came on, Luke, but I know that you said that when the asylum seekers turn up at the hotels that you worked at, their first difficult choice was to choose between an iPhone or a Samsung. They were offered two types of mobile phones, right? Essentially, yeah. Yeah, they get given a cash allowance. That was £50 a week when I worked there, but I've now been told that apparently it's gone up to £70 a week. You know, there's pensioners that are struggling to feed themselves, and they're struggling to heat their homes through the winter, and these people are just being given money to do absolutely nothing.
So they get free phones, 50 quid a week, 70 maybe now. I know it was 50 because that's the Social Security, that's the benefit money that they do get. God knows why, but they do. And you had regular visits from doctors and nurses from NHS visits?
They had NHS and dentists in. NHS were there pretty much every day, and dentists sort of come in once, twice a week.
Really?
They'd get an appointment quicker than what me and you could. So,
so they come in and get their teeth done and their health checks?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And
it really is.
you were you responsible, because there are room searches, aren't there? Were you responsible for them?
I wasn't. No, that was down to security and housekeeping. There was one occasion, I'm pretty sure that you've probably seen the video where I discussed it. Housekeeping went into a room and they found one of our own knives from our own kitchens under one of the pillows. Now, there was either two ways that could have been retrieved, and that is through security, because they're the only people that had access to the kitchens other than us, or one of them has gone into the kitchen themselves, helped themselves to the knife, and taken it back upstairs.
And the room searches, they find drugs?
Yes, there was multiple times that there was cocaine and cannabis found in the rooms. One point, there was enough to say that they think they're involved in the supply.
So these people, I mean, if they're supplying, they're dealing. I mean, that's a dreadful story. But even if they're not dealing, they're sitting around watching telly, eating free food, using their free phones, 70 quid a week, taking coke.
The funniest thing is that 50 or 70 pound a week is probably what's paying for the coke. So when you pay your taxes and every other person in this country pay their taxes, you're essentially putting sniff up immigrants' noses.
Now, you're obviously made of stern stuff, Luke, and you stuck it out for a couple of years. But you said earlier that there's a big high staff turnover. That's because presumably a lot of workers found it quite traumatic.
They'd normally be there for 2-3 weeks, then they decide that they didn't want to carry on anymore. So then obviously, whilst they were looking for more staff to cover, which was difficult just to get people into interview. We had to cover it all, and it was a lot of stress. It was a hell of a lot of stress when I worked there. To be honest, I did make myself rather ill at one point, and that's what led up to me quitting. So
you did it for a couple of years. You changed hotels at some point halfway through that time?
So I was working between the two hotels. I was doing more at one than the other.
Oh, I see. So your job entailed both of the hotels, yeah?
Yes. They're owned by the same people, so obviously it was basically shift shared across both wherever they needed the staff more, essentially. And
when you were doing, you were mainly a night watchman kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
What activity did you see at nights? I mean, was there much going on?
Some nights be very quiet. Other nights you'll have people going in and out the front door at 1-2 o'clock in the morning. Where these people are going, no one quite knew. Security never seemed to challenge them, even though security was supposed to. But another problem I found in these hotels is that the security are very friendly with the migrants, and as I'm sure you've seen on many of the videos, as of other people, they speak as good as English as some of the immigrants in most of these hotels.
Mm-hmm. During the day, then, I mean, they just sit around watching telly, eating free food. I mean, do they have any sense of purpose? I mean, is that it?
No. I mean, migration, that's been a good thing for the UK for many, many years. But the problem is now it's gone to a point where everyone's just looking for a free ride. Because, they get handed everything they could ever want as soon as they step on the shore. So for them to just get on a boat for a few hours, risk a rough ride across the waters to then arrive into absolute pleasure, what some people would beg for. It's just disgusting, really.
And you said that after a couple of years of this that the stress got to you. Tell us about, I mean, what was the stress like? What was causing it? Just never quite knowing what these people might get up to?
Essentially, yeah. You know, when you hear the story, obviously, of one of our own knives in the room, what was the purpose for them taking that knife in the first place?
Yeah.
You know, you don't know whether they were planning to attack a member of security, a member of housekeeping the next time they tried to clean the room. You know, essentially, you're in a very dangerous position because no one knows who these people are and no one knows what these people are capable of.
And you said that one time somebody didn't like the free food they were offered and kicked off and attacked one of the members of staff?
They did, yeah. They assaulted a member of security, just simply because they didn't like what was on offer for food.
Unbelievable. And what about the local community? Did you talk to people from the local community who were concerned about the asylum seeker hotels in their midst?
Not at the time. I'll be honest, when I worked there was very little going on regarding the hotels that I was working at. So it was all, you know, everything was kept very quiet. A lot of people wasn't actually aware that these hotels house these people, which is, again, another massive problem. There's communities where these hotels are people, there could be 100, 200 people that no one's got absolutely any record of, and they're walking around, you know, willy-nilly doing as they please.
I'm guessing that that you weren't exactly paid a fortune to work at these places?
No, it was minimum wage.
For everybody, yeah?
Yeah.
Did the hotels that you worked in, do they have swimming pools, anything like that?
No, they didn't, no.
But would you, what would you rate them as? 3-star, something like that?
Yeah, probably 3-4 star. I mean, they had pool table. They all had brand new TVs in their rooms. All got all their bedding replaced once a week. So, you know.
They had brand new TVs in their rooms, yeah?
Yeah. If a TV went wrong, normally within 24 hours, they'd have, you know, a replacement up on their wall.
Unbelievable. And these companies that take over the hotels, I mean, what do they do to the hotels when they get hold of them? I mean, presumably, I've read they get rid of all the existing staff and replace them with cheaper workers.
That didn't happen with us. Like I said in one of my videos, when I first started there, it was open to the general public, and obviously they accepted the contracts whilst I was there. And I had a newborn baby on the way, so at the time I couldn't risk to lose the job. So in a way, I felt I had no way to stay on.
Right.
So I did, and then eventually I started my own business and I left.
And did you feel threatened by these people? Did anybody ever threaten you personally?
Personally, I never got threatened, no. But there is just sort of an atmosphere when you walk into them places.
Yeah, and the asylum seekers who are in these hotels, or in your experience, I mean, did they sort of feel like they'd be there forever, or what were their plans as far as you could work out?
To be honest, I think a lot of them had hoped that they weren't going to be there long. But in the time I was there was probably only, I don't know, 5-10 people that had come and gone, which, you know, is a very small majority. So that means that they say that they're housing these people. They're housing them very slowly, which brings a question as to where is all the housing going, because the people of our own country can't seem to get housed.
Yeah, we've just been talking about that. We've just been talking about.
I was watching.
So the asylum seekers in the hotels that you worked at, your impression was that most of them just saw it as the long haul. They were just going to stay living there, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I'd love to go into one of them hotels. You know, I've even made jokes about buying myself a boat, chucking my phone and my ID in the water, doing a ring round, and, you know, getting myself a 5-star accommodation.
That's not a bad thought. And in terms of, you know, you said that there was a big high staff turnover, a lot of staff felt threatened, presumably especially women. Did the company do anything about that? Did they try and sort of make sure everybody was okay, or did they just let you get on with it?
No, to be honest, they didn't really care if someone said they quit it. So, oh well, you know, work your notice and off you go, sort of thing.
And those hotels you worked at, as I say, we don't want to name for legal reasons, but they're in Norfolk. Are they still migrant hotels? They still asylum seeker hotels?
Yes, correct, they are.
And are there many generally up there? Because we were doing, we did a story last night that there was a bit of trouble in Dis. There was a protest there. That's in Norfolk, isn't it?
Yeah, I was at the protest in Dis. Out of the two held hotels, there's 170 in one, and there's roughly about 80 in the other.
Well, listen, Luke, you're out there now. You're running your own business. All going well?
Yeah, it is absolutely smashing out the park. So yeah.
Oh, good. Well, listen, I'm glad that you found gainful employment and you're enjoying it. And listen, we'll keep in touch. And thank you very much for your time. Fascinating stuff. Thank you so much. That is, of course, Luke, who worked at these hotels. Well, what do you think? Luke Sharman is his name. I worked there for 2 years. There's your story. They turn up, free everything here. Would you like a iPhone or a Samsung? Which one do you want? You make the choice. Free food, free money, free dentists, doctors, dentists coming to the hotel. Brits, it's not so easy to see a doctor or a dentist, particularly a dentist. Anybody struggling to see an NHS dentist? Go and pretend you're an asylum seeker. Go into an asylum seeker hotel. Looks like you get immediate attention. What does this all strike you? Is that fair? Is that all fair? What do you reckon? Now, Luke's story, that's unfolding at least 202 hotels all over the country. Probably more. More than 200 hotels. Formerly sort of convivial local inns, hubs of the community where people go for drinks, have their weddings, have parties. Suddenly overnight they become asylum seeker hotels, a very different proposition. This has happened to small communities, cities and towns all over the country. What do you think? What do you think of all this? 0344 499 1000. When we come back, we're going to talk about a school in southwest London that has been teaching its little kids all about masculinity. This is a primary school. The pupils are 5 years old to 11 years old, and they've been shown this kind of actor guy, Canadian actor. It's a trans woman. It's somebody who's had surgery to pretend they're a woman, and this person has been shown to the little kids to say that's masculinity. See, soft and strong. I mean, why are they teaching kids this sort of stuff? We'll talk about that after these messages. Stay tuned.
Interesting today, take note of this, the 22nd of July. We've just seen Labour's new immigration reforms for skilled visas has come in. So I think, they've seen that the numbers of small boat crossings is now plus 46,000 this year alone. And now they're trying to reduce the actual number of skilled visas by £100,000, sorry, 100,000 visas a year reduced.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's talk about schools, shall we? There's a school in southwest London, Streatham, and they've been teaching the kids about positive examples of masculinity in a bid to challenge gender stereotypes. Now, the person that they've been showcasing in a bid to teach these kids all of this is an actor, Canadian actor called Elliot Page. Elliot Page medically transitioned with hormones and surgery, and he's being held up to establish that masculinity can mean softness and strength. The pupils were also assailed with pictures of Harry Styles as proof that men can be multi-dimensional. Now, the head teacher, Sarah Wardlaw, says it is important to teach pupils about harmful stereotypes about masculinity, undoing the deeply ingrained gender stereotypes in our society takes time. We have seen a significant improvement in children's awareness of key issues surrounding gender equality. They know how to use their voice to advocate for others. Some of them are 5 years old. The oldest are 11. So you're about 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old. That's who she was talking about then. What is going on here? I would suggest we did reach out to Sarah Wardlaw, the head teacher at this school in Streatham, the Streatham Wells Primary School. We did reach out to Ms. Wardlaw and ask her to come on the show to explain this, but I would say that this borders on a kind of social engineering, wouldn't you? Just sort of brainwashing kids into the way you want them to think. Let's talk to, from the New Culture Forum, Amy Gallagher. Welcome, Amy.
Hi, Kevin.
What is this all about? I mean, I'll just read that again. This is this head teacher. She's talking about 5-year-old kids. All right, let's be generous, 11 at the oldest, but 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-old kids, little kids. It is important to teach pupils about harmful stereotypes about masculinity. Undoing the deeply ingrained gender stereotypes in our society takes time. We have seen significant improvement in children's awareness of key issues surrounding gender equality. They know how to use their voice to advocate for others. They're 5. What is she talking about?
I know, the wonderful thing about young children is that they often haven't developed stereotypes. They don't make these kind of judgments. It's not until they get older that they do. So you're getting children to unlearn stereotypes that they haven't even developed yet. I mean, I don't think children of this age should be being taught about gender or stereotypes because they're complex concepts. It's difficult for young children to understand. I'd even be hesitant about teaching secondary school children these issues because our school system's so politicised, and this is a great example of it because they've tried to do something good, but actually they've ended up pushing in ideology and very harmful ideas about transgenderism and masculinity, I would say. I mean, the teacher said that she didn't like the term toxic masculinity. I agree, I don't like that term. So she wanted to teach positive masculinity. But what she ended up doing is she picked a transgender actor. So this is a biological woman who went through gender reassignment surgery to present as a man and said this is an example of positive masculinity. In other words, a woman is an example of positive masculinity. And then they also picked Harry Styles, who is known for wearing women's dresses and women's clothes. So essentially they're saying the only way masculinity can be positive is when it's feminine, is when it's wearing women's clothes or actually being a woman. So this is, I mean, to me, it's rejecting kind of positive virtues that we do associate with men. It's confusing children, and it's I would say it's just going along with this narrative of anti-Mao, of anti. You never hear about toxic femininity or having to show femininity in a positive light. So I mean, this is what they always do. They always sneak in these very radical ideas about men and women when they say that they're just doing it to make children feel equal. It's very easy to make children feel equal at school. Just don't, if the teacher doesn't push stereotypes onto them and just allows the children to play freely, that you wouldn't have an issue. But this is going to confuse children. Children will look up this actor and read that he is transgender, and they're going to be confused by that, and then they're going to be. All this is going to do is make the whole situation worse, as I see it.
Look, if Elliot Page was suffering from extreme dysmorphia and felt that she had to go through this surgery, all due sympathy. Not making any comment on Elliot Page. I'm just slightly worried about the idea of kind of showcasing this person to little kids of 5 years old, saying, look, this person's had surgery to turn, this is a woman who's had surgery to pretend she's a man. I mean, again, as you get older, these are concepts that kids have to embrace. They have to know about this stuff. But when they're 5 and 6 and 7 years old, bit too young, don't you think?
It's very confusing, and as I say, the idea is that this person, this actor, represents something positive, and Elliot Page may well be a nice person and have positive attributes to their character, but that's not what's being presented. What's being presented is their gender. They've got this gender identity which a child wouldn't understand, and they've gone through this gender reassignment surgery, and that's somehow positive. I mean, as you said, this person's gone through a lot. They've had mental illness. Although we would have sympathy for that person, we wouldn't say that's a good thing. It's not you don't want to have to go through a surgery and in order to rectify your kind of mental illness. But this is being presented, and there's been multiple instances of this, of being presented as wonderful. Isn't it great? Look at this wonderful transgender person, and this is somebody we should look to. Like, you could look up to them for being a good actor, or as I said, things about their character. But this issue of them having had gender reassignment surgery, it feels very odd to me that any kind of value would be attached to that would be seen as good, or bad. Actually, it's something that a child wouldn't even understand.
And you sense that Sarah Wardlaw, the head teacher, probably wouldn't dangle in front of her kids as a positive masculine image, some, I don't know, a footballer who likes a few beers, and goes out with the ladies a lot, that kind of a masculine image. I think Sarah Wardlaw wouldn't approve of that. That's what she would call toxic masculinity. In other words, the traditional image we have of masculinity. What worries me about this, Amy, is this borders on social engineering. It's certainly brainwashing kids, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very dangerous. I worry about young boys in particular, because most primary school teachers are female, and we know that there's an increasing amount of single parent families, so boys being raised without a father. So we've got a cohort of young boys who may be genuinely looking for a role model, a male role model, and they're being told that kind of there's something about them, about masculinity, about maybe some aspects of their character that are wrong, and they need to try to change them. I mean, it wasn't long ago, I believe it was 5 or so years ago, that the American Psychiatric Association came up with this idea that traditional masculinity was harmful, and they listed traits such as risk-taking and being adventurous, being competitive and being aggressive, that these were all harmful traits.
That's me in trouble, I'll tell you.
Oh, indeed. I mean, this is, you see this, if you've ever been around young boys, you see that they are very often, usually, very different from young girls, and they are boisterous in a way that often young girls aren't, and we are pathologizing this, and this is what's really worrying me about, what the message is that boys are receiving, that basically they are defective, that there's something wrong with them and they need to be more feminine, they can't just be themselves. So all of this stuff about, challenging stereotypes, actually they're making young boys feel uncomfortable, I would imagine, when actually there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah, it's very worrying what goes on at our schools these days. Listen, Amy, excellent to talk to you as always. Thank you so much for your time. That's Amy Gallagher from the New Culture Forum. We're going to go to break now. When we come back, we'll pay tribute to the great Ozzy Osbourne, who has sadly died at age 76. We're going to talk to music journalist, podcaster, legend in his own right, Paul Gambaccini. That next, stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. As I was saying before the break, very sadly, Ozzy Osbourne of Black Sabbath has died at the age of 76. A statement from his family, of course, Sharon, Jack, Kelly, Amy and Louis. Sharon, of course, his wife, his long-term loving wife. It is with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. He was with his family and surrounded by love. We ask everyone to respect our family privacy at this time, which of course we will. Well, let's pay tribute to the great man now in the company of an equally great man. He is the legendary Paul Gambaccini. Paul, thanks so much for joining us.
You're very welcome.
Well, tell us, just assess Ozzy Osbourne's career. It was a remarkable career. He went from sort of frightening rock hellraiser to hilarious reality TV star. Talk us through it.
Well, Black Sabbath and Deep Purple were the first two groups to have heavy metal hits. So they're definitely pioneers. But also, they were nice guys. I remember turning up for an interview with Rolling Stone magazine. Mm-hmm. They got the timing wrong, and to show their forgiveness, they sent me a set of dining room chairs. They didn't have to do that.
It's an unusual gift, but nice.
That's right. So he was a very kind person. You know, I'm glad to say that his last gig was such a success. It was the Birmingham Stadium affair.
Where he basically brought down the curtain on his incredible career and said goodbye, well, to the world, but also as a performer, that was, but also to his hometown, Birmingham. He's an Asylum boy, isn't he?
Well, that's right. He was a very proud son of Birmingham. And, as I say, a very nice bloke with a very successful wife and a successful TV series, The Osbourne Family. You don't have that combination very often.
Indeed, it apparently sold over 100 million albums worldwide, and his first hit was, as you said, Paul, was Paranoid, which was released as a single in 1970. It got to number 4 in the charts, a hard rock hit single, quite a rare thing in those days. I remember it when I was a little kid. I remember it kind of changed my life. I thought, wow, this is different. So a pioneer in that way, kind of bringing rock to a bigger audience.
Well, definitely. And like fortunate pioneers, he was recognized as such. Every year, heavy metal young stars would have the Blizzard of Oz festival, which is where people got together to do Ozzy songs, and that was quite touching.
Indeed. You said you met him a few times. I mean, he had this image. I'm sure he kind of fostered this image. You remember the famous idea that he bit the head off chickens on stage. I don't suspect he actually did that, but I think he liked that story getting out there. But you said that in person, I mean, I've met him to shake hands with him, but I've never spent proper time with him. But you said that in person he was just a nice guy.
Yeah. Well, he would have that Alice Cooper-like image, but in fact he was a pussycat. There you are.
Yeah.
And a family man.
And how important do you think he was to popular music? I'm thinking of his most iconic songs, of course, Paranoid, Iron Man, War Pigs, and many more. How important was he?
He was very important because he established that metal is one of the paths down which you can walk.
Yeah.
And you're not going to do that if you're Paul McCartney, but you can do it if you want. And Def Leppard, for example, wanted to do that.
Yeah. And did you find, I was talking earlier about this, that unlike a lot of professional comedians, Ozzy Osbourne was a naturally funny guy, which is why I think the Osbournes and his sort of transition into reality TV in America in particular was such a smash hit because he's such a funny bloke.
Well, he had a very dry sense of humor, which we associate with the Brits, but we don't associate it with heavy metal artists.
No, we don't. But he did make. He had the gift of making people laugh. Much loved by his family. Well, we saw that on telly. I know Sharon quite well. I feel so sorry for her. His kids love him. A little word about his life away from the limelight, where I think he was a genuinely loving, pretty normal family man.
Well, he fit right into the California neighborhood where they made the TV series. As a matter of fact, his next-door neighbor was Pat Boone, and you can't get more clean-cut in image terms than that.
That is extraordinary. Listen, Paul, well, thank you very much for paying tribute to this great man as he passes on. Good to talk to you. Thank you very much, Paul Cambaccini there. Let me know what you think about old Ozzy, because it's quite a story, isn't it? There he is, 76 years old. I mean, we know he's been suffering from dementia. And some of the pictures you've seen of him lately have been quite distressing, shuffling along in the California sun, obviously suffering at some point. But I know his wife, Sharon, quite well. Feel very sorry for her. She'll be absolutely devastated. They were kind of an unusual partnership insofar as Sharon managed Ozzy, and she also ran the Donington heavy metal concert at the festival every year, at which Ozzy was a fixture. So an unusual relationship, but it sure as hell stood the test of time. Let me know if you have any memories, anything that you think about Ozzy Osbourne. Give me a call. Let's read a couple of messages. What have we got so far? Oh yeah, I've got some stories. So with the Britannia Hotel, this is from Steve in East Yorkshire. He said, I just looked at the Britannia Hotel, Canary Wharf, at their website, and I'm astounded. It's a 4-star hotel, and from the photographs it looks very plush and expensive, and we're putting bloody illegal migrants in there. It's an absolute disgrace. They should be deported immediately. This is Pete the Mole says, just wait until they try and clear out the immigrants from the hotels in order to deport them. It will be a siege and running street battle. Well, this government's not going to do that, Steve. I'll tell you that. This is Tanya. She said, I just went onto the Britannia Hotel booking, tried to book a room, but they are fully booked all the way until December next year. No availability. Gee, wonder why that is. In fact, people have told me, if you try and get a reasonably priced hotel in London, and I'm not talking about the Dorchester or the Ritz or all of those very expensive places where they'll cost you £1,000, £2,000 a night. If you try and get a reasonably priced one anywhere in the London region, it is extremely difficult because all the reasonably priced hotels around London have been totally booked up, totally taken by asylum seekers. Here's Wendy. At least now they're moving these asylum seekers into posh areas. Just wait until the city traders notice their stuff getting nicked or their daughters being assaulted. I'm sure they won't do that, Wendy. Once the rich folk kick up a stink, Starmer might listen. I mean, it is an interesting point, where these people get billeted. Now, I live in quite a well-to-do area of London, quite a posh area, I suppose, Hampstead. I saw a whole bunch of migrants, asylum seekers on Sunday, because I know that we got a hotel in our local area where they are. So I think more and more these asylum seekers are getting put into areas regardless of whether or not they're downtrodden areas, whether or not they're sort of working class areas, middle class areas. They're just going everywhere. But I think Wendy's probably got a point. If posh people, posh, rich, influential people, start finding that they've got asylum seekers living next door to them, it may move the dial a bit. It'll probably make more, they'll make more of a fuss than many other communities. So let me know what you think about that. As far as we know, the migrants or the asylum seekers who were staying in the Bell Hotel in Epping, where there's been all these disturbances since last weekend, we can't verify this, but we think they've been moved into the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf, a rather plush 4-star hotel in a very flash area. Now, they're definitely in there, but we don't know for sure that they came from the Bell Hotel. We went to check out the Bell Hotel, but like all other asylum seeker hotels, they bring down these veils. You can't see in. You're not allowed in. You can't see in. In itself, pretty damn sinister. And by the way, the Home Office has a policy often has a policy of not telling local communities that they're going to have one of their local hotels turned into an asylum seeker accommodation centre. They say it's to do with security. So local communities get no say in this. It just happens. Sometimes, swiftly, overnight. So people go to sleep, they've got a nice hotel in their area, where they had their wedding, where they gather for drinks, where they go for dinner. They wake up in the morning, covered, there's tarpaulins everywhere, it's blacked out, it's gone. It is no longer a community hotel, it is an asylum seeker accommodation centre. And we heard Luke, who worked at two of them earlier, telling us what they're like behind these tarpaulins, these blacked out windows, that it's just people sitting around doing nothing with their free phones on 70 quid a week. I think it might be 50 actually, but Luke seems to think the money's gone up. It was 50. Free doctors and dentists visiting them to make sure their medical requirements are attended to. How's it going for you? Do you get to see an NHS dentist okay? Can you get to see your GP okay? Do you get immediate medical treatment? Well, pretend you're an asylum seeker, then you'll get it. That's what's going on. He also said a lot of tension between the staff and the migrants who stay there, and that the hotel he was working at, there was a massive great fight because a couple of the asylum seekers didn't like the free food they'd been offered, so they assaulted a member of the staff. He also said that they have regular checks of all the rooms. They found knives underneath pillows, and worse still, quite substantial quantities of illegal narcotics, namely cocaine, to the extent that he figured some of them must have been dealing drugs. Others, he said, are Deliveroo riders. He said the bikes were all around the back of their hotels, Deliveroo, Just Eat, all of that. Uber Eats, so they were delivering for them, illegally working. Some of them he thought probably drug dealing, certainly drug taking. They got free brand new hotels, brand new TVs in all their rooms. They go wrong, they get replaced. Nice life if you can get it, isn't it? Let me know what you think about all that. 0344 499 1000. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the an oil refinery, the Lindsay oil refinery in northeast Lincolnshire, which has been closed down, putting 420 jobs at risk. We spoke to Andrea Jenkins, the mayor, of course, Dame Andrea Jenkins, the Reform UK mayor of Greater Lincolnshire, and she was rather keen that we should cover this story. So we're going to talk to someone who's basically being put out of work. We're going to cover this story and find out what exactly is going on at the Lindsay oil refinery in northeast Lincolnshire, where its owner Prax has gone into administration, putting 420 jobs at risk. That next, stay tuned.
They are trying to move these people on. They see themselves as a stepping stone to Britain. They understand the direction of travel, and they don't want these people hanging around in their countries any longer than they actually have to. The problem is we are the end destination, and that leaves you with a very awkward choice. Do you sit there and go, come on in, or do you begin the very expensive, potentially quite dangerous, but I'm afraid very necessary step of saying to people, you have no right to be in this country and we're going to send you home? But of course, this being Britain, we're avoiding taking that final step.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, let's talk about the Lindsay oil refinery. That is in Lincolnshire, as I said. The company that owns it, Prax, the Prax Group, basically has closed or is going into administration, is going to close the company down. Well, let's go straight to someone whose job is at risk for this. Is it Andrew Smith? Is that right, Andrew?
Dave Smith.
Dave Smith, sorry, wrong name. Well, Dave, sorry to hear about your troubles. Well, tell us exactly what's happened in the last couple of weeks. What's gone down?
So this only happened in the last 3 weeks. So on the last day of last month, we were told that the company had gone insolvent, and the refinery therefore was naturally in a lot of danger. So the company, so the refinery's been up for sale, and we've been told there's no viable bidders for the whole refinery. So that puts an awful amount of jobs at risk of redundancy. But my bone of contention with everything personally is that we've had 3 weeks to sell the refinery. You know, any homeowner will know you can't sell a house in 3 months, you know, or buy a house in 3 months, let alone a multi-million-pound refinery.
So they put it up for sale 3 weeks ago. That was
yeah. So it was owned under Prax until the end of last month, and liquidators have been in and put it up for sale. And after 3 weeks, they've said the bidding is closed. That is it.
Oh dear. And what did you do there, Dave?
I'm an operator on the plant.
So 425 people could lose their jobs here?
Or more than that. So that number figured is purely just Prax employees. There are roughly 1,000 people that go through the turnstiles at that refinery every single day. So there's more contractors that work there. That is their permanent place of work, you know, scaffolders, laggers, that kind of thing. And you can multiply that number by 4 or 5 of indirect job losses as well. You know, that you'll have the B&Bs in the area, you'll have the coffee shops, that kind of thing. So you're talking 4,000 to 5,000 potential job losses from the closure of Lindsay Oil Refinery.
And could the government have helped, or should they be helping? What could they do?
We have asked. We've asked for support. We've asked for a crude ship to come in. Being perfectly honest, the refinery will only refine for another 6 days or so, unless we get a crude ship in today, tomorrow. Otherwise, it will close. So we've asked for that support, and they've not been able to give that. We've also asked for government support with funding for future turnaround and shutdown inspections as an incentive for a buyer to come forward. But it just seems all very, very rushed. And the public need to be aware this was the only British-owned refinery in the country, and it's been left to go.
I mean, what has gone wrong? Why is the refinery, you know, not working financially? What exactly is the reason?
It was awful mismanagement, and to be honest, I don't want to really get into that because all of the media coverage so far has been about the previous owner, his debts that he racked up against the refinery. I mean, we were paying £5 million a month towards the debt, for argument's sake. So a lot of the media speculation has been about him, where he is, his mismanagement of the company, and it's now about the employees, the amount of job losses, and saving the refinery, saving the infrastructure of the UK. Because Lindsay Oil Refinery has a direct line out of the refinery to Bunsfield and down to Heathrow.
Yeah,
So
you supply Heathrow, don't you?
Yes.
Heathrow Airport.
Yeah, so it's a key part of the infrastructure of the network in this country.
I mean, is it? I mean, apart from there've been stories of mismanagement, but is this something to do with, our new obsession with greenness and eco? Is it something to do with ecology or net zero? Is that why?
I think that's part of it. I think that's part of it, because why else would it be allowed to just be given up after 3 weeks? I mean, yes, it was mismanaged. Yes, it had lost money, but it had started making money in the last few months. So my argument was, why has it not been supported by the government in terms of getting some more oil in, show that the refinery can make money, which it was, on a longer term period, make it more lucrative and attractive for any potential buyer?
Yeah. Did you feel, or have you felt over the last few weeks, that the government's just not really very interested in you? Because let's face it, oil refining is not a kind of top net zero activity, is it?
Obviously, they've tried to say the right things to us, as all politicians do. And the one thing they did say, which is absolutely true, is that oil is still around, and it will be around in your lifetime, my lifetime, and beyond. The need is there. And as a nation, we already import finished products. Your petrol, your diesel, we import because we don't produce enough. So with the closure of Lindsay oil refinery, it's only going to get worse. And as you will be aware, the government has increased spending on defence to 5% of GDP. How is that going to get fueled if we're importing it?
That's a very good point. How long have you worked there, Dave?
13 years. 13
years. How are you feeling personally?
Thrown under the bus, basically. I feel that until recently, our voice hasn't been heard. Like I said earlier, it's all been about the mismanagement of the company and the owner. And now it's about getting our voice out and the common sense and the reason behind. We can't let another oil refinery go. Grangemouth went 60, 70 days ago. We can't have two go within a matter of 2 to 3 months. It's just crazy. We need to be self-sufficient as a country.
Yeah, and would you would maintain? I mean, the mismanagement is one thing, but just because a company is mismanaged, it doesn't mean to say it isn't potentially a functional, possibly profitable company, does it?
The liquidators told us that it is a viable company. So it has the potential and would make money. If the right person came along and invested, it'd be doing okay. So for them to say that, for us to be making money, and we were given 3 weeks to find a buyer, it just seems to me that there is a hidden agenda here as to why the refinery has been let to shut down.
What are the big towns around there, Dave?
So Grimsby's the main one. You've got Scunthorpe, Lincoln, Hull, Doncaster.
So I mean, this is a lot of people to lose their livelihood, isn't it? More than 1,000 people, yeah?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest employers in the area, and it's just going to absolutely decimate the local economy. I don't see it coming back if Lindsay oil refinery closes. I think you're going to lose a lot of workers who are going to move out of the area to find jobs elsewhere, and it just seems a real shame. And there's no need for it. It can be helped, it can be saved. The country needs it. Yes, there is a transition to going green, but this transition is off a cliff edge. It's not a gradual thing. I think we'd all agree that at some point as a world we need to go greener, and oil isn't going to be around forever, but you can't just cut the supply off instantly like this, because we still need it. Whether Lindsay oil refinery is saved or not, the demand will be exactly the same tomorrow and the following day.
But do you sense then, have you sensed over the past few weeks that there's a kind of cultural problem here, that this net zero obsessed government was never going to do all that much to help an oil refinery?
Again, yeah, they say the right things in meetings, but I've always had the feeling that they were never really going to help. And again, because there was maybe a hidden agenda behind everything, and obviously it's well documented that Labour are quite hell-bent on net zero and getting there as quickly as they can, but we're doing it at the detriment of our own economy and local workers and people's lives, and we're going to end up importing finished products from countries that refine it far dirtier than we do. We're one of the greenest countries to refine in the world.
Yeah, I know.
We're just moving the carbon from us to somewhere else, and then we've got to transport it from there, which is even worse.
So have you, at this stage, Dave, got to go in a second, but have you run out of all hope, or is there any small lifeline you can cling on to?
We are going to go down kicking and screaming. So yes, there is. I'm hoping there is a lifeline. We are getting the coverage now that we need. We want to put the pressure on the government and make them see the common sense behind this. They cannot let another refinery go. So yes, there is hope, and we will keep fighting until we've exhausted all avenues.
All right, David, we'll keep in touch with you, and the best of luck. Thank you so much for talking to us. That's Dave Smith from the Lindsay oil refinery up in Lincolnshire, and we'll keep in touch with him and find out what's happening there. But it sounds like they're down the chute, which is really sad. When we come back, we'll be talking about Gaza, so stay tuned.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. It's the one show where you do not have to be worried about judgmental people because we'll do all the judging for you. Let's just have a look at how Humsey Useless is now spending his time.
There goes your career, mate.
Over there a bit is over towards where all the migrants come in. He's jumping there. There he goes. He goes over the bar.
Hello,
and
lady.
unfortunately, it catches on his Johnson.
If he's plank of the week, he's got a sizable plank.
Yes.
That's a whole different show.
Plank of the Week, Fridays at 7 on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, welcome back. We'll be talking in 20 minutes, so we'll be taking your call, 03444 991 1000. What we need to talk about is Gaza. The British government is demanding that Israel ends the war immediately and says it will work alongside France towards a two-state solution. The Prime Minister made it very clear that that he is demanding a ceasefire right now. We need a ceasefire now. Well, David Lammy, of course, is pitching in there. We've co-signed with 24 allies, including Australia, Canada, France and Italy, denouncing Israel's US-backed aid delivery model. They say that aid to that benighted area is being restricted, and says we plan to force Gazans into a humanitarian city. These plans were completely unacceptable, etc., etc. I just wonder why it is that Starmer and Lammy think that this is going to make any difference. Well, look, let's debate this issue, can we? Let's talk to the director of the Peter Tatchell Foundation. Funny enough, his name is Peter Tatchell. Welcome, Peter. And also the editor of the Jewish Telegraph, Paul Harris. Thank you for joining us both.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, can I ask you, Paul, when the British government has made a real song and dance the last couple of days is we will work with France to end the war immediately. Well, good luck with that. But then they'll say they'll work alongside France towards a two-state solution. As far as I can work out, Israel doesn't want a two-state solution and Palestine doesn't want a two-state solution. So what makes Starmer and Lammy think they can achieve this?
I think they're getting rather above their own station. I mean, Israel will take no notice of this whatsoever. There cannot be a two-state solution as long as Hamas are in power. As long as Hamas has any influence in Gaza, there will not be a two-state solution. It's as simple as that. And Israel will not be worried in the slightest bit about what Starmer or Lammy have to say. Netanyahu is very single-minded, and over the years, Israel has had to be a single-minded nation, else it would never have survived. It has to do things its way. It will take advice, but it won't be dictated to. And I mean, there's no doubt at all that the United States is involved. The United States is supporting Israel at the moment in its actions. It has not joined in these condemnations at all.
And what's your take on the criticism that somehow Israel is restricting aid to struggling Gazans?
Well, Israel is not restricting aid. Israel is monitoring aid. It's as simple as that. I mean, have you ever seen a starving-looking Hamas terrorist? Have you seen any of their leaders looking starving? Aid has been diverted. There's no doubt about it. The aid is not and has not been reaching its intended target in many cases. The people who need it, the people who are starving, it's been diverted, and it's not reaching the people who matter in many cases. Israel has tried to monitor it. Israel has tried to control it. But to suggest that Israel is deliberately trying to starve Gazans into submission or deliberately creating this humanitarian disaster is just not true.
And am I right in believing that Israel's essential stance on potential peace talks, a potential ceasefire, centres on whether or not Hamas will release the remaining hostages?
100%. Hamas has known all along that Israel would be prepared to make moves towards a ceasefire if the hostages were released. Hamas willfully refuses to do this. It's as simple as that, and has done throughout. I mean, we don't know how many are actually alive. Very, very few of them, it would appear. And I don't know. I mean, who knows what state the rest of them are in after all this time as well. This is also a crisis. It's inhumane what they're doing. We don't know what conditions they're being kept in. We understand they're underground, and we've seen what conditions some of those who have been released have been in, and many of them dead, in fact.
Peter, what is your take on that? I mean, it seems to me that while David Lammy, Keir Starmer, many people have been criticising Israel's belligerence, if you like, their continued belligerence. So their constant retort, I think with some justification, is, well, we've always said that to Hamas that if you release the hostages, we'll talk. But Hamas steadfastly refuses to do so. So as long as they take that stance, surely peace is a bit of a forlorn hope, isn't it?
Well, let me be quite clear. Israel has a right to exist, has a right to defend itself against terrorism. But what Israel is doing now is way beyond military necessity. It is resulting in countless, thousands and thousands of civilian casualties. More than 58,000 people killed in Gaza, most of them women and children, 15,000 children massacred by Israel. And right now, the Israeli-controlled humanitarian relief is not getting through. In the last few days, at least 19 civilians have died of hunger and starvation. And on top of all that, we see the massacre by Israel of nearly 900 people queuing for aid and water. They're going there to get aid and water, and Israeli snipers and bombers are killing them. This is absolutely outrageous. It is way beyond the military necessity to defeat Hamas terrorism. This is a collective punishment of the entire civilian population of Gaza. Now, if we want a two-state solution, you're right. Netanyahu said he does not want a two-state solution. But President Abbas, of the Palestinian Authority, has made it absolutely clear that he condemns terrorism, condemns the killing of civilians in Israel, and wants a two-state solution. So it's the Palestinians who are supportive of a two-state solution, or the Palestinian leader, but not the leader of Israel. And that is the impasse. And we know that most Palestinians do not support Hamas. Hamas's latest poll showed that only 6% of Gazans support Hamas. There have been mass protests against Hamas yesterday and the day before all across Gaza. The people are rebelling against Hamas, but they are imprisoned by a police state dictatorship which is killing them. And I know from people I have contacts with in Gaza that people who have spoken out against Hamas, calling for peace, calling for a negotiated settlement with Israel, have been executed by Hamas. Now, Israel ought to be supporting those people, but recently one of those great heroic Gazan leaders who spoke out against Hamas was killed in an Israeli airstrike. Shocking, shocking, shocking. Killing the very kind of the leader in Gaza who would be a broker for peace with Israel. This is just beyond military necessity, beyond any decent behavior by any civilized nation.
All right, let me put that to Paul. Peter is saying very forcefully that he feels that Israel's response to the situation in Gaza is disproportionate right now. What are your feelings?
Well, first of all, I mean, I don't know why Mr. Tatchell feels that this particular person was killed deliberately. He wasn't targeted. The other point is he keeps referring to Israel massacring Palestinians or Gazans. They are not massacring them. This is not deliberate. He is twisting the facts here. Israel, I understand that the deaths of the people who were queuing for aid was a result of a surge. Israel fired warning shots. The IDF fired warning shots, and the situation became dangerous, as I understand it. And this is why there were shots fired directly, live ammunition. This is what I understand. Israel does not deliberately target these people. And I'm sure Mr. Tatchell is well aware that a lot of the deaths over the last couple of years and previously have been the direct result of the cynical behavior of Hamas, deliberately positioning arsenals, rocket launchers, and their own headquarters in the midst of population, very heavily populated areas, schools, hospitals, domestic areas, quite deliberately, knowing that what would actually be the result when Israel hit them. This is a war situation, and as you quite rightly say, there could be a ceasefire very, very soon if these hostages were released. Israelis do not want this situation. Most Israelis would welcome a two-state solution, whether Netanyahu does or not. Israel, the average person there, wants to live side by side with Palestinians in a peaceful situation, but it is never going to happen while Hamas is around.
What do you say to... There is evidence, Peter, I've seen footage that Hamas, or some of their worst terrorists, have been hijacking the aid. There's footage of, huge trucks of aid hurtling through Gaza with all these guys sitting on the back firing guns into the air, clearly making sure that local people can't get it. They commandeer it, and God knows what they do with it. There's even talk that they sell them to the sell it to the Jordanians and the Egyptians. So it isn't necessarily true, is it, that the poor Gazan people are being deprived of aid by the Israelis, because Hamas have been involved in this as well. That's why the Israelis are, shall we say, tense around this situation, because this aid has been procured by Hamas.
Well, any abuses by Hamas does not justify the collective punishment of the whole Gazan population, and that is what is happening. It's a collective punishment. Look at Gaza now. 86% of Gaza has been ethnically cleansed by Israel. People forced out of their historic lands, their homes, their workplaces. They're now herded. 2 million people have been herded into an area 20 miles square. 2 million people. This is just unconscionable behavior. It reminds me of some of the worst war crimes committed in history. This is not acceptable behavior. Now, when it comes to releasing the hostages, you will recall that in November 2023, less than 2 months after the horrendous October the 7th massacre, Hamas and Israel agreed a hostage exchange, and over 100 Israeli hostages were returned. Now, it proves that a hostage deal can be done, and it should be done now. The problem is, it looks like Mr. Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, is more interested in war than in saving the hostages' lives. And the hostages' families are saying right now that the latest incursion by Israel into an area where hostages are believed to be held will put them at risk. They are very anxious, and most of them do not want this military operation to go ahead. They want a deal that repeats the deal of November 2023. That's the way to get the hostages back, and I 100% support that. Those Israeli hostages should have never been taken. They should have been released at the earliest opportunity. And if we had a deal like they had in November 23, those hostages would now be back in Israel.
But, I mean, I'm sure Paul would argue, and I'd see some credence in this, that the intransigence of the Israelis is down to the intransigence of Hamas, who will not release these remaining hostages. OK, there may be as few as 10 of them now alive, but they are still at the centre of this. And as long as Hamas won't let them out, Israel will no doubt continue. It is down to Hamas, isn't it, Paul?
Well, you know,
hang on a second, Peter.
First of all, I would like to take Mr. Tatchell to task over this grossly slanderous statement accusing Israel of ethnic cleansing. There has not been ethnic cleansing. That is slanderous in the extreme. I don't think most decent people would actually call it this. When the first tranche of hostages were released, the 100 or so hostages, Israel paid a heavy price for this and released, I can't remember how many prisoners it was, but it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, many of them convicted terrorists, or many of them held on terrorism charges, people who had murdered Israelis. You know, there is a point that the hostage families are, many of them opposed to Netanyahu, and they certainly would like to see a ceasefire because of the fact that there is increased danger to those hostages who are still being held in a small area, that they are in danger every time that Israel launches an attack on various Hamas sites. And of course, this is a problem. But I mean, you know, we don't know the full facts. Mr. Tatchell doesn't know the full facts. Only Israeli intelligence does, about why these areas are being targeted. And Hamas has it in its power, in its gift, to bring about a ceasefire at any time by releasing the hostages. I think that's all anybody waits for, that these hostages who remain in captivity are released. There would be a very, very different situation if they were released.
It's a fair point, isn't it, Peter?
Well, just to go back to the point about ethnic cleansing, when you remove every single Gazan person because they are Palestinian from 86% of the land, that is ethnic cleansing. Forcing these people, 2 million Gazans, because of their ethnicity, into a tiny area, 20 square miles, that is ethnic cleansing by any definition. The other point I'd make is that there is an opportunity for peace, and the person who is most significant in all of this is being held in an Israeli prison. Marwan Barghouti was convicted on trumped-up terrorism charges in 2002. He's been in an Israeli jail since, denied medical treatment, beaten by guards, it looks like Israel's intent on killing him because he supports a two-state solution. He supports a democratic, secular Palestine. He wants a negotiated settlement. He is the most popular Palestinian leader. Because he is secular, he's a bulwark against Hamas. And any Israeli politician who had any sense would be pushing for his release, as has been urged by leading Israeli intelligence and security officials. They say that his release is crucial to a long-term peace settlement.
Paul,
so why the hell won't Israel release him?
Paul?
I think others might dispute the fact that Barghouti is a peace-loving Palestinian. I think that you might find there's a very different story. And I think you well know that, and that's why he is being held for so long. And you also
he led protests. Marwan Barghouti led protests against the killing of Israeli civilians. He organized protests against Hamas when they were massacring Israeli civilians. His record is absolutely clear.
I think you well know that's not quite the case. But let's just go on to what you were suggesting about Palestinians being moved into 20% of the area, 80% of it being cleansed or cleared, rather. I think you also well know why this is. This is because Israel has, bit by bit, tried to remove Hamas cells where they are. And this is why, bit by bit, Israel has moved the Gazan population away from these areas while they try to hit the Hamas cells, which, whether it's their arsenals or whether it's cells of terrorists. And as far as we know, they have cleared this 80% of the land of Hamas presence. So, I'm not sure, and I don't think anybody knows, where Hamas is now situated, presumably in the remaining 20%. And this is a very awkward situation, but it's not cleansing. They've moved the Palestinian population out of the areas where they were hitting. Unfortunately, there have been huge numbers of casualties, but you have to blame Hamas for that, not Israel. Israel is at war with a terror organization and trying to remove it from its borders, from 1 kilometer away from where Israelis are situated. And until Hamas are removed, Israelis in the south will be under intense danger. They're in danger. I've visited this area many times. You're literally 1 kilometer away from where terrorists were situated.
Let me ask you.
I don't dispute the need to fight Hamas terrorism, absolutely, but not at the price of such enormous civilian casualties. Paul said that people get killed. It's not not Israel's deliberate intention. You can't wish away or explain away the killing of 15,000 Palestinian children. That's not accidental. It is reckless, indiscriminate bombing of civilian areas. Israel would never accept in a war situation that their cities were bombed to try and root out Shin Bet or IDF, and in the process killed tens of thousands of Israeli civilians. You would never accept that. So why do you think it's okay to kill Palestinian civilians in the same way? It's just not acceptable.
This has to be the last point, Paul, because I'm going to have to... Go on, Paul.
That was simply the IDF and Shin Bet are not terrorists. You're talking about a democratic country with highly trained military and probably the best intelligence in the world, or amongst the best intelligence organizations in the world. Hamas, as I say, has cynically and deliberately positioned itself among the highly populated areas of Gaza, deliberately had weapons arsenals, deliberately had rocket launchers, knowing that when Israel hits these, there are going to be civilian casualties. Hamas couldn't care less about its own people, and I would challenge anybody to dispute that fact.
No, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you, but I don't think the right cause of defeating Hamas justifies such huge civilian casualties. Over 100,000 wounded in Gaza, over 58,000 killed, including 15,000 children. That is completely disproportionate. It is not based on military necessity. We have to make a clear distinction. Fight Hamas, yes, but not kill civilians.
Well, yeah, you have to remember, Peter, though, I mean, Netanyahu did say we will now destroy Hamas. So he seems to be engaged in that process. And what is he doing that he didn't say he was going to do? But that said, thank you both for your very powerful arguments, and I suspect we could go on all night. But very good to talk to you, Peter, and to you, Paul Smith, Paul Harris, editor of the Jewish Telegraph. So let me know what you think. It's quite a difficult dispute, isn't it? 0344 499 1000. When we come back, your calls, your WhatsApp voice notes, and your messages. So stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Let's go to the phones. Lots to talk about. Let's talk to Philippa in Poole in Dorset. Hi, Philippa.
Hi, Kevin. Lovely to speak to you. I'm sorry I haven't been on and spoken to you for a long time, but I was just listening to you talking about the crisis with all the migrants going into all the hotels and now going into four-star hotels. I am absolutely incensed by it. Every time somebody talks about this topic, I'm shouting at the TV. I have spoken to so many different people who are sick to the back teeth with this situation carrying on and on and on. This government do not care about British indigenous people. They do not care about the people that have paid into the system their whole lives, who've contributed to this country, who've made a difference. And they don't care about the elderly, they don't care about the disabled. All they care about is getting these people from across the other side of the world over here and paying for every single thing for them and leaving us, the normal English British people, to be in poverty, to struggle. I don't know what their hidden agenda is. I would love to know. I want the King to dissolve Parliament. I want a general election, and I want the Labour government out.
We'd all like that, but you do know the King can't do that, don't you?
Well, I think somebody's got to...
People keep saying, oh, the King should dissolve. The King has got no power whatsoever. He doesn't govern us, you know that.
No, I know, but somebody's got to do something, Kevin.
Look, I absolutely, I totally hear your frustration. I think we're all, loads of us are feeling exactly that way. We are in the middle of a kind of ongoing, swirling, massive dysfunctionality. Looks like, Philippa, that these migrants that were in the Bell Hotel in Epping, at least some of them, have been moved into the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf. And if you have a look at that, it's quite a swish place, 4-star. It's got saunas, swimming pool, restaurants, bars, very, very nice, right in the middle of a very swish area where all the city traders lived. So quite nice for free.
Yeah, well, I just hope that the city traders rise up and say they want them out and don't want them there. There is going to be civil war in this country, the way things are going. It's not going to take long for people to start speaking up and wanting to see change and going out on the streets and voicing their opinions the way things are. Somebody's got to do something.
I think I agree with you. I think that there's a lot of unrest in the air, to say that the least, and I think there may well be more and more disturbances across the country due to these asylum seeker hotels. The government cannot carry on getting away with this. They really can't. They try to keep them secret from us, you know that. So there's 202 asylum seeker hotels. If you try and look up details, you can only find details of about 70, and that's because the Home Office deems that the details of many of them should remain secret so as not to upset local communities. Good, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. I just think it's horrendous, and I think there's a hidden agenda there somewhere. I don't know what the agenda is, but it's not a nice agenda.
I don't think there's an agenda. People keep saying this, but that's to credit this government with a, fiendish intelligence, that they got a brilliant plan. It's not a very nice plan, but they've got a plan. They're just useless. They're just useless. And this migrant crisis is too much for them. They just cannot handle it. Philippa, I don't know what to say. I mean, I totally understand what you're complaining about. I mean, everybody is feeling like this, that somewhere or other something's got to give. There's something going wrong with this country really, really badly. But apart from that, I don't quite know what to say. But thank you for an excellent call. Good to hear from you again, and keep in touch. Don't make it so long next time. Philippa in Poole in Dorset. Let's go to a break, and when we come back, it's time for Georgina in London. We'll speak to her next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It's time for Georgina. Welcome to the show, Georgina. How are you?
I'm absolutely fine. I could be better if it wasn't for this totally incompetent government, Kevin.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? It's unbelievable.
It just gets worse. Honestly, every day is another Dodge. It's like living in Dodge City. I wanted to ask you, do the sanctions and the fines that this government are going to be applying to these people smugglers, does this also apply to government bodies who've been smuggling people through the back door?
You mean Ben Wallace and Grant Shapps and all those people? Very good point. Let's sanction them for keeping dangerous secrets from the people of this country, the people who voted for them. I mean, what did you make of that? Now, they say, the government is implying that tomorrow morning, Wednesday, they will release a list of 24 people smuggling gang profiteers, people who've been making money out of the asylum seeker crisis, the migrant crisis. These are the evil people smuggling gangs. They're going to release the names. They're going to name and shame 24 of them, and they're going to impose financial sanctions on them. Well, if these people are in Britain and they know who they are, never mind financial sanctions. How about this? You go round and you arrest them and then you prosecute them. What's wrong with that?
Absolutely. These people should have been trawled in the moment the government realised who they were. Do you know what, Kevin? I'm really at the end of my rope with this government. I've never known such total incompetence. The government's just as bad, if not worse, than the people smugglers. You expect to get stabbed in the back by hardened criminal gangs, but what you don't expect, Kevin, is to be stabbed between the shoulder blades repeatedly by the very people put in position to take care of your country and all you hold dear. It's absolutely soul-destroying. And I've been listening to the lovely lady who was on before you and other callers.
Philippa, yeah.
And you can hear the desperation.
Yeah, I don't know what to say to people like Philippa. You know, I absolutely understand. You know, that they're as like yourself, they're at the end of their tether and they're going, surely something can be done. Well, it can't really, Georgina. We're stuck with this gormless, useless government for the next 4 years. There's not much we can do about it.
I've actually renamed Keir Starmer the Nowhere Man. There was a song by the Beatles many, many years ago when I was a young girl about the Nowhere Man who has no plan, doesn't know where he's going, can't make a decision for his life, doesn't believe in anything. Keir Starmer is the Nowhere Man. Honestly, it's an absolute travesty, and it's brought our country, and a country, you know what, Kevin? I love my country. I love my country. But to see what's happening now with this tsunami of illegal and legal migrants, honestly, darling, we are sinking under the weight, and it's the taxpayer, it's you, me, my husband, people like, probably Philippa and all the other callers who call in, who are having to spend hard-earned cash to keep people coming over, like you were saying earlier, with the mobile phones and living in four-star hotels. It's absolutely soul-destroying. They've got to get a grip, or this is going to turn very, very volatile.
I agree with you. This asylum seeker hotel situation is getting very, very tense, I would say. We're not sure of the veracity of this, but it looks as if at least some of these migrants who are staying at the Bell Hotel in Epping, where there's been all this trouble since last weekend, actually, for more than a week now, may have been moved into the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf. There's a demonstration going on outside there now. There was a demonstration yesterday in Diss in Norfolk, where they've also got an asylum seeker hotel. So these demos, these protests, I think are going to get more frequent as this summer progresses. And there's a feeling people are just sick of it. You know, as I said earlier in the show, here's the thing. So you learn that when these asylum seekers turn up at the hotel, they get, oh, do you want an iPhone or would you like a Samsung? So we're thinking, hang on, why are they getting them for free? We have to pay for them. Why are we giving them free phones? Why are we giving them free accommodation? Why are we giving them free food, free doctors, free dentists? Did you hear that Luke Sharman, a guy who worked in these hotels, he said that NHS people, doctors and dentists, visited the hotel twice a week at least to give everyone the treatment they need. The rest of us, you know, NHS dentists, good luck with that. It's two-tier government, and the British citizens, indigenous people of Britain, are the ones who are second division.
Well, I listened to that young man when he was talking before, and I've come to the mindset that it's one rule for them and another rule for us. I mean, the way the government are performing, the indigenous population, as you've said a million times, Kevin, and I am behind you 110%, are going without. We are being put on the back burner, and we are suffering, while these come-overs are coming here, getting everything they want, giving money. I bet you even get the a la carte menu in the restaurants, honestly.
You bet.
And we'll be paying for that as well. Nothing is free, Kevin. Nothing is free, because we are having to foot this bill. That is the terrifying part of this. And until we turn around and make the government listen and say, look, no more, that's the only time they're going to listen. And hopefully Nigel Farage will get into government. I mean, I will pray that he gets into government and he's got a job on his hands to iron this out.
Yeah, if he does become the Prime Minister, he's got a hell of a mountain to climb, but somebody's got to get hold of this country and sort it out, and it isn't this Labour government. They are making a serious mess of this. Georgina, got to move on, but always a pleasure to talk to you. Very well said, as always. Georgina in North London. Let's talk to Peter in Croydon, shall we? Hi, Peter.
Hello, Kevin. Georgina's brilliant. I love her.
Yeah, I know. She's on talk more than people like me, more than most of the presenters. Yeah.
No, she's brilliant. No, and I agree with everything Paul said about Israel. I mean, sort of us, decent, commonsensical people. We know what's going on, and Paul's told us the facts. I mean, I watched David Lammy do his statement in the House, and they were going, Israel with this, Israel with that. I quite felt sorry for David Lammy, because he was getting in there.
Don't feel sorry for him.
Oh, he's a war criminal and all that business, but I like to email him, especially Emily Thornberry, who's so arrogant.
Yeah.
And I just email them to wind them up,
Well, the thing is, opinions are divided. But I would say that Netanyahu isn't doing anything he didn't say he was going to do. He said, unless Hamas releases the hostages, we will continue until we destroy Hamas. They still won't release the hostages, and everybody expects Israel to renege on its pledge. They said they were going to do this. They carry on doing it. I don't take any pleasure in it, but I can't quite see why, David Lammy and Keir Starmer and Macron and the gang seem to think that Israel will just back down because, they kind of want them to. Well, bad luck. It's not going to happen.
Well, I bet Benjamin Netanyahu is shaking in his
Yeah, that's the other thing, Peter, isn't it? Yeah, Netanyahu gives a rat's backside what Starmer or Lammy think or say. It is an exercise in impotence, the way they keep sounding off. They want a two-state solution. Well, Palestinians don't want a two-state solution, and nor do Israelis. So how are we going to impose that on them? Peter, always good to talk to you. Got to move on, got to go to the break, but keep calling. Good to talk. Peter in Croydon. When we come back, more of your calls, more of your messages, more of your WhatsApp voice notes. Stick around.
What they're doing is by salami slicing, doing it by statutory instruments which have virtually no ability to be able to be checked in the way in which legislation can be done on the floor of the House of Commons. And yesterday they passed another act called the Production and Believe It or Not Metrology Bill, which is now enacted. And that is realigning us with all European laws in that field of activity. It is monstrous.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Message here from Francis. As a dental nurse, I was asked to go to assist at a migrant hotel. I refused. I would imagine that Francis refused because it's not fair. I mean, people trying to get an NHS dentist, forget about it. It just doesn't happen. And yet, these migrants, these asylum seekers, according to our guest Luke Sharman earlier, were visited twice a week by NHS dentists and by doctors and by nurses. So they're getting perfect medical treatment, medical visits all the time. And it's a bit different for us, isn't it? People who live in this country, citizens of this country. And by the way, talking about that oil refinery, the Lindsay oil refinery in northeast Lincolnshire, which is to close we've got 420 jobs at risk, but we're told that with contractors and all the other businesses that surround it, we're talking about 1,000 people probably about to lose their jobs, maybe even more. And this is what these stories are all about. This is from Jane in Grimsby. Hi, Kev. My son works at the Lindsay oil refinery and is the third generation of our family to do so. There are at least 1,000, probably 3,000 to 4,000 jobs at risk altogether, and not just the 400 reported Labour and their net zero supporters will be happy. Third generation. 3 generations of this family have worked at that oil refinery and now it's going to close. This is the human side of these stories. People losing their livelihoods, neighbourhoods utterly blighted. These entire neighbourhoods revolve around these places, these big businesses in the middle of them, like the steelworks in Port Talbot previously. Now this place, this oil refinery, you close them down, you close down a community, you devastate a community. People need to work. Let's go to the phones again. Let's talk to Bex in Essex. Hello, Bex.
Hi, Kevin. It's me again.
Yes, all right. You keep calling. Good to talk to you.
I do. There's a protest going on at the moment, which you probably know, which is outside the Britannia Hotel
in Canary Wharf. Yeah.
Yeah, so they've moved the Bell Hotel residents, the illegal migrants, from there into this hotel, which is an expensive, luxurious hotel in Canary Wharf. And online, I read on the reviews from 2 days ago, very angry tourists who have paid good hard-earned money to booked into that hotel months ago, who have now had all their bookings cancelled. This is a 530-room hotel, luxurious, all ready for our new arrivals. Isn't that lovely?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you something about Britannia Hotels, right? It's obviously a chain. I suspect they've done a big deal with the government. So, each one of these hotels, they get handed like 2 million quid or something to convert into asylum seeker accommodation centres. So there's this one, obviously, in Canary Wharf. I don't know if the Bell Hotel is part of the chain, but there's one near where I live in Hampstead, quite a posh area. It's actually nearer Primrose Hill. And, so I live in sort of, but trust me, I'm one of the poor members of the neighbourhood, but I live in quite a sort of flash area full of very rich people. And on Sunday, I was taking the dog for a walk. I was walking around and I saw like huge groups of clearly migrants just milling around in the area. So they're at this.
Driving the prices down in your area.
Well, they probably will, and we probably deserve it. But it's not just working class areas that are getting these asylum seeker hotels foisted upon them. It is everywhere. It's because of the sheer numbers of them, the sheer volume of them, 202 and rising around the country. Every single area has got their migrant hotel, and I think the people are sick to death of it.
They are. They're protesting outside. They've been protesting out there all afternoon, and I think that this will continue. And all I can say is good on them. We don't need to accept this. We should not accept this. There are colleges and there are a lot of educational places around this hotel, and this is posing a risk to the students who go to this place, because It's just not acceptable. This is about the safety of our children and the safety of women and the general public, the general British people. We should not. This is a security risk to us. This isn't about being a racist. It's about security.
Yeah, I think we're at breaking point. I think that, what we're seeing in Canary Wharf, what we're already seeing in Epping, we saw at Diss in Norfolk last night. We're going to see more and more of this. But people are at breaking point. This isn't fair. These foreigners who are breaking into our country are being prioritised over us, over British citizens, decent British citizens. And we won't take it, I don't think.
No, and tourists as well. They're even throwing tourists under the bus. It feels like these people are more important than the British public, than the tourists who come to this country, and even the people who pay a lot of money to come to this country. The people who emigrate to this country and pay to be here, to stay here and work hard or study hard. It's even a slap in their faces.
It is, Bex, it is. Listen, keep calling. Got to move on, though. We're very good to talk to you again. Always a pleasure. Let's a couple of messages here. Or should we play a quick WhatsApp voice note? This is Neil on the migrants.
Hi, Kevin. What scares me about these migrants coming over in the boat is if they commit a serious offence, because it's going to happen, but I can just see the government covering it up at the moment, a media blackout, because they know that will be the trigger point and people will start rioting. That's my opinion, but I can just see that happening.
I think there's every reason to fear that, Neil. I hope it doesn't happen, but it may well do. As I say, I think the people are at breaking point. They've had enough of this. This is a text from Jennifer in Cambridgeshire. She says, our military veterans have put their lives on the line for this country time and time again, yet they are living on the streets with no money at all. But these immigrants are given all these things. What a disgusting country. Jennifer in Cambridgeshire. It's true. You know, we did a story about a homeless veteran last night, kicked off a train. Too many military veterans are homeless. What kind of a country pours gifts and generosity on these foreigners who break into our country illegally and ignores the plight of homeless men and women who have served their country? What is that all about, folks? Let us go to Kevin in Basingstoke. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Kevin.
Hi.
Yeah. I've worked in a hotel housing migrants, asylum seekers, sorry, and they were lovely people. But there was 24-hour security in that hotel, and there was an occasion where there was a demonstration outside the hotel, and it was really scary. It was scary for me, and I was just working there. But for the asylum seekers, it was really, really horrible. They should
have thought about that before they broke into our country.
A mob outside.
Well,
there was children in there as well.
Well, you know, I mean, they broke into the country. What do they expect?
Oh no, they didn't break into the country. What do you mean?
Well, they did, didn't they? They're asylum seekers, right? Probably came over on small boats. That's illegal.
They were from Afghanistan. They helped us in Afghanistan.
How do you know?
Because we do know where they're from.
How many people helped how many people helped the British Army in Afghanistan during the Afghanistan war?
How many people?
Yeah.
I don't know. You tell me. Tens of thousands.
No, absolute maximum 4,000. Probably hundreds. May not even be. Hang on, Kev. Wait. So the 100,000 people on this list who claimed that they helped the British during the Afghanistan war, most of them were lying.
Well, if they were lying...
Well, there must be, by definition. 4,000 people helped the British, 100,000 claimed they helped the British.
These people come here, and if they came here and they punched a policeman in the face,
well, you know, when you say, well, yeah, some of them do. Some of them do. When you say that they were terrified, what about the local community? You know, like in Epping, one of these migrants being accused of three...
They weren't doing anything to the community. They were really nice people. We used to have dinner with them. We used to get a free dinner and have dinner dinner with these people. They were really nice.
Oh, hang on a second. I've just got to get some Kleenex and hang on a second. I've just got to wipe a tear away from my eye. That's such a moving story. Oh, that's lovely, that is. Don't be ridiculous.
Well, it's not a lovely story. It's a
They're
horrible
lovely
story.
people. They're human beings, right, Kev? Human beings, yeah? Right? Yeah?
Human beings?
Yeah, they're human beings, aren't they?
Well, what do you think they are?
Human beings.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're people who broke into our country illegally. That's what I think they are. And I don't know, you know, to be honest with you, I don't want to seem too heartless, but people who broke into our country illegally, that we put into a free hotel and we pay for, and we give them free food and we give them free doctors, free dentists, free lawyers, you know, I'm not going to lose a whole lot of sleep over the fact they were a little bit perturbed about a demonstration outside this free hotel that we gave them. I'm not really all that bothered by that. Do you understand that?
What do you mean a little demonstration? Hotels.
So what? Why haven't the local people got the right to protest? They have, haven't they? They have, haven't they? They've got the right to protest.
Yeah, peacefully.
Well, you didn't say they did anything violent. You said that they just made the migrants a bit scared.
Well, no, but some of them aren't peaceful.
So whose side are you on then?
Some people aren't peaceful. They set fire to the hotels and set fire.
So whose side are you on then?
Why do I have to have a side?
You're prioritising the welfare of these people who broke into our country illegally over decent, hard-working citizens.
They weren't doing anything wrong. They weren't.
Well, they broke our laws to get into the country, didn't they?
No, it's not illegal to come and claim asylum.
It is actually, technically.
No, it isn't. If it was illegal, they would be punished for doing something.
What have you done with your phone? Have you shoved it down your trousers or something? You sound like you're coming out of a pillow or something.
Sorry, is that better?
That's a bit better, yeah. No, actually, they still broke the law. They broke the law. You need to look this up, Kevin. Accepting people, accepting a claim for asylum and letting someone stay is a political decision. It's not a legal decision. They broke our laws. If they come across on an illegal vessel, an illegal boat, and they come across, as most of them do, with no documents, that's against the law. They arrive illegally.
All right, so you're supposed to, people from Afghanistan are supposed to apply for passports and get legal papers from the Taliban, are they?
No, I think that what would be nice if they didn't mostly lie and pretend that they helped the British during the war. Most of them lied. 100,000 people were on that list. At most, there were about 4,000 Afghanis helped the British during the war. Do you see my point? There's a 96,000 discrepancy there. There's a 96,000 discrepancy there. No, I'm not making it up. You just come on with this bleeding heart claptrap, and you never read anything. You never look anything up. You just go, these poor people, they're human beings. You know, I mean, it's just rubbish, Kev. You've got to arm yourself with some facts.
I do arm myself with facts.
Well, what facts have you given me?
I just don't believe what you're saying, because what you're saying isn't fact. You probably get.
Well, it is a fact, actually. No, what?
You're probably getting your facts from the Daily Mail. You're not going on a government.
You're going to come on this show and insult my journalistic integrity, are you? Well, you better go away then, hadn't you? Go away. Get rid of him. Let's talk to Dave in Basildon. Hi, Dave.
Oh, I'm just listening to that idiot. What a delusional fool.
Just having a bit of fun,
you know. Say to him, why don't you have one in your house at your expense and at your responsibility?
But you know what he'd say? I'd love to. I'd have hundreds in my house.
I know.
They're human beings.
I have never known such a terrible, moronic shower in government. They're even worse than Sunak and company.
They are, aren't they? Yeah, no mean feat, but they're worse, yeah.
Yeah, and as people keep saying, why doesn't the King dissolve Parliament? Well, he hasn't the authority. But I think if he had, he wouldn't. He'd agree with everything they're doing, the woke idiot. Yeah. It is shocking, but I don't see them lasting another 4 years. I think there'll have to be an election next December, not this year, next year, September, October time, because our borrowing costs are just going.
That's interesting. Mike Graham is convinced that fairly soon they will have to call an election, but I can't help. Much as I hope he's right and much as I hope you're right, I can't help feeling that it's just wishful thinking. Because if Keir Starmer calls an election, he puts the Labour government out of work, doesn't he?
He does, but I think it'll be the international bankers that will do it.
Yeah, that is a really interesting point, Dave. Yeah, I mean, we forget about all this. Apart from all the kind of social, cultural and political crises that we're suffering, we're enduring right now, we got a massive debt problem, haven't we?
Yeah, and there's going to be massive unrest. People are sick of the women being attacked. You can gang rape schoolgirls on an industrial scale, and nothing happens to you. You send a tweet and you're locked up.
Yeah, that may be a bit of an exaggeration, but I do take your point. We have two-tier justice. That's another one of our problems. Listen, Dave, good to talk to you, mate. Call me again. We'll have a proper chat, but I've got to move on because the show's nearly over. Dave from Basildon there. Petri Hoskin is in the studio. How you doing,
Hello
Petri?
there. Good, thank you.